Your socket. I was on the ground underneath your chair.
You know about my socks?
I spotted your socks. White socks, grey trousers, and burgundy shoes.
It was a
last minute rush out of bed this morning. Dash.
It's a long story. My socks were in beside Hudson, and I couldn't go in and wake him up, so I had to grab Aaron's socks, and he only has white socks. There you go. That is literally exactly.
That's the truth.
How
that's
it
good.
all turned out.
That's real life for you.
Exactly. That's real life. But you know what? It's fine. It's finally.
It's radio.
Nobody Friday.
Well, I'm kind of. I was speaking.
What's happening again?
Well, you see,
you need to stop pushing it a bit more.
No, but thanks for asking me, because Dennis Ferry and Leslie O'Donnell are coming in after 8 o'clock tomorrow. It's the big drive challenge for Zach and Casey, who are going to get some treatment, bone marrow treatment in the Netherlands, and we want to help them and raise a little bit of awareness and some cash along the way. And there's a chance for everybody who buys a ticket. We're going to be driving in this 28-year-old Mercedes.
It's all wrapped in Donegal flag.
It is. It's very colourful in that, and there's a chance to win that. So we're heading away at about 2 o'clock on Friday night. We're heading from Highland Radio to Mizenhead to Malin, crossing over to Wales, and then going to the bottom. What do you call it? Land's End, is it?
Yeah.
And then up to John O'Groats.
Right.
And so all in the one driving. So I've been. Dennis was on the ball last night. He says, "Have you got a sleeping bag?" He says, "Wear comfortable clothes."
Do you get on well with the two of them, do you?
Do I?
I don't think I'd like to spend that much time with anyone.
Well, sure, we're going to be living in the thing.
I don't know, it's all for good cause, but...
It's good, but sure, it's going to be great. Which we're doing.
Is it though? That's the bit I'm not sure of. Is it going to be good fun?
Of course it's going to be good fun.
Okay,
so we're going to have challenges along the way. It's going to be a challenge, of course, because somebody's going to be sleeping, snoring.
Well, let's start the show a bit early. Let's do the handover a bit early tomorrow and talk about it properly, because this is significant, and I just feel I haven't heard enough about it.
Oh, brilliant. That'd be great.
And you'll come on the show on Friday, will you?
Yeah,
okay.
Please.
Right, so we'll talk about it more tomorrow.
Great. I appreciate that.
Oh, here we go.
What did you do now? You broke it?
The new Big Arch has arrived at McDonald's.
Back after the ad break, everybody.
So iconic, it's got its own sauce. A signature Big Arch sauce. Sounds serious, doesn't it? It is. Seriously good. Big Arch. For big McDonald's hunger. Until the 9th of September from 11 a.m, subject to availability.
Okay, it is 9 o'clock, a minute past, in fact. Let's get a news update. It's over to... who's it over to? It's Donald Kavanagh there this morning. Good morning, Donald. How are you keeping? 1 second, sorry. Here we go.
Thank you very much indeed, Greg. Good morning. As the implications of yesterday's High Court decision in Belfast to uphold a challenge to the Plan Day 5 improvements are assessed, Donegal TD Pat the Cope Gallagher calling on Taoiseach Micheál Martin and Transport Minister Darragh O'Brien to meet with their counterparts at Stormont to chart a clear and legally sound way forward. He says the decision by the Belfast High Court is deeply disappointing. Deputy Gallagher says it's inconceivable that a draft climate action plan's omission could halt a project of this importance, especially one backed by €600 million in Irish government funding. He says work to address the situation must start immediately.
I took the opportunity to speak with Darragh O'Brien, the Transport Minister, yesterday afternoon. I suggested to him that there had to be direct contact between the First Minister, the Taoiseach, and himself and his counterpart, the Minister for Infrastructure in Northern Ireland, to try and ensure that this is now fast-tracked. We'll be raising it with the Taoiseach when I meet him in the Dáil today, and those engagements must now take place very quickly.
A deal's been struck between the HSE and trade unions to introduce an extended working week. It'll see consultants and other staff rostered 5 days over 7. The HSE says the overarching aim of the extended hours is to facilitate a smoother patient flow and greater levels of discharge. It'll affect all parts of the health service and HSE-funded agencies. The Taoiseach says updated travel advice for the Middle East remains in place despite confirmation of a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Last night, the Department of Foreign Affairs updated advice for Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. Irish citizens are urged to exercise a high degree of caution, monitor media updates and follow the advice of local authorities. Taoiseach Simon Harris says government is keeping a close eye on the situation.
This afternoon after Cabinet, I'm going to convene a meeting of all of our ambassadors and embassy representatives across the Middle East region because I want to get from them the very latest information on the ground in terms of our own Irish citizens, the presence of Irish people in the region, and indeed review and consider the best updated travel advice to provide to the people of Ireland and the citizens of Ireland.
Police in Tyrone have charged a man with a number of driving offences after a police officer was dragged by a car during a traffic stop in Omagh on Sunday last. The 24-year-old has been charged with driving with excess alcohol, failing to stop for police, assault on police and causing grievous bodily injury by dangerous driving. He is due before Omagh Magistrates Court on Tuesday, July 8th. And Buncrana Garda stopped a vehicle in the Fawn area yesterday morning, and the driver tested positive for cocaine, cannabis and amphetamine. An arrest was made. Then after lunchtime, a vehicle was observed driving in a dangerous manner in the Bridgend area. It was located parked by Buncrana Road Policing Unit a short time later, and the vehicle was subsequently seized. And the weather forecast, mostly cloudy to begin today with patchy rain and drizzle. Drier, brighter intervals will increase as the day goes on. Highest temperatures 15 to 19 degrees Celsius with moderate southwest winds, decreasing light to moderate later. That's Highland Radio News. Back with news again at 10 o'clock. Check all the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It is Tuesday the 24th of June 2025. It's 4 minutes past 9 and you're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show. And as usual, it's a packed 3 hours. What are we going to talk about? Well, of course it's Tuesday, so we've got Community Garda information for you. That's why we bring you the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána first here on the 9 till Noon Show. We're going to have reaction to the latest hurdle to be placed in front of the much needed A5 upgrade. What else is there? We're going to talk about what's happening in the Middle East, what a difference 24 hours makes. And of course, too, Donegal just have a 6-day turnaround. Is it 9 games in 12 weeks now they're being asked to play? Donegal have been drawn to play first in Croke Park next Saturday. It's fantastic we're in a quarter-final, but an extra day's recovery would make an awful lot of sense for the Donegal team. The Donegal GEA did seek a Sunday tie. It wasn't awarded, and the game's only on GEA Plus. Now, of course, you can listen to us here in Highland, but if you wanted to watch it on your free-to-air TV, you're not going to be able to, because it's on GEA Plus and it's on Saturday and it's a short turnaround, and there's no team played more games than Donegal in the championship so far. So we'll have a chat about that. Anything you want to talk about, either on some of those topics or your own, 086 60 25,000. Yeah, and what a difference 24 hours make. I mean, yesterday, just about this time, we were talking about how Donald Trump had committed in the election to be a president of peace, and that he had thrown that all back into the face of his voters, and he had intervened and dragged America into another war. And now it appears that war is over, because very late last night, at about 11 o'clock, it popped up on my phone from his Truth social media, because you have to source your news from lots of places, of course, that a ceasefire was being announced. So we had a situation where for the last 10, 11 days, Iran and Israel have been bombing the living daylights out of each other. America then decided to target 3 nuclear sites in Iran, and we all thought, right, what's going to happen here? And next thing you know, a ceasefire is announced. Now, it seems the Israelis reached out to Qatar saying that, look, we've achieved what we set out to do. Qatar contacted the Iranians, and the Iranians said, well, if they stop attacking us, we've no business attacking them. And America then, of course, has to have a role in that. And between the jigs and the reels, there's a ceasefire. And Iranian state media, and the reason I mention this now, because it's not in the papers, I think it made the Mirror, but that's about the height of it, because it all happened so late at night, and all the papers are talking about where things are going to go next, and here we are with a ceasefire. Which is good, because there's people out there, that it's like you hear another thing that's happening, and you wonder, well, what does this mean, and where's the world going? So anytime there is a breakthrough, albeit very far away, it is a bit of a relief. Already, by the way, because we mentioned the pressure on diesel, petrol and home heating oil prices, already crude oil, the raw product, has dropped significantly, because there's now, if the ceasefire holds, there's no great threat to supply lines. So that means that the 250, whatever it could have ended up heading towards, looks unlikely to happen now in the wake of this ceasefire. So that's how it would have primarily potentially affected us, right? But the cost of oil at the source is down. So it's a bit of good news. An Iranian state media outlet, SSN, or SNN, in fact, they reported that Iran has fired a last round of missiles towards Israel before a ceasefire comes into effect. Iran state TV also reported that a ceasefire has been imposed on Israel after waves of Iranian attacks. And the Israelis, the Israeli government, they say it agreed to the ceasefire proposals after achieving the objective of its attacks on Iran. According to the statement, Israel has removed Iran's dual immediate existential threat from nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. It also says Israel has inflicted severe damage on the military leadership and destroyed dozens of central Iranian government targets. And of course, Iran can say that they attacked America because they sent missiles towards an American base in Qatar. Israel's claiming victory. Iran is saying that Israel was forced to submit. And, that's all just semantics, really. They can all claim a win. But effectively, it appears, if that ceasefire holds for 24 hours, that war is over. The 12-day war, you could call it, I suppose. So, as I say, something a bit more positive to wake up to this morning. But going to the papers, and families of A5 victims will be heartbroken. We'll be talking about this, of course, later on in the show. This is the Irish Daily Mirror. Families of those killed and injured on the A5 will be heartbroken by a judgment quashing an executive decision to go ahead with an upgrade, the infrastructure minister has said. Liz Kimmins insisted she would not be giving up on plans to make the road safer following the ruling at the High Court in Belfast yesterday. Ms Kimmins was in court as Mr Justice McAlander said the proposed $1.2 billion road upgrade breached Stormont's Climate Change Act. Speaking afterwards, the minister said it was an extremely disappointing day. She added, "I want to start off by paying tribute to all the families who have lost loved ones on the A5. Now, I'm not sure if this forms part of the coverage or part of what people think, but, you're going to have a significant piece of infrastructure that is required, and you're also going to have a group of individuals who are opposing that, and then the courts will decide. The one thing I think we should be able to take for granted is that the planning application, the process, the orders are so robust on behalf of a government that they are so robust that they can't be challenged by a group of landowners. And it appears that some basic stuff was overlooked here. It's not going ahead because it breached Stormont's Climate Change Act. I believe they didn't include it in their projections, and that's not good. I think that's someone dropping the ball. That should have been so watertight that there could have been no legal grounds to oppose it. Such is the importance of the infrastructure. So maybe I'm far out here, and maybe it isn't or shouldn't be directed at the executive or the officials responsible for the planning and what have you of this road. But I don't believe it should be so easily challenged if the planning process is followed to the letter of the law. And it's robust and it complies with climate action plans, etc. But anyway, people who know more than me will be reacting to that. Potentially good news. There is a bit of a frustration, and it's not quite like this, but there is this bit of a frustration, and we've heard it now from a couple of health ministers that hospitals run a little bit Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and they're making great efforts, it seems, to try and change how hospitals run so that, in terms of being admitted to the hospital but being discharged, if you're able to be discharged, happens 7 days a week smoothly. So we'll see if this makes any difference. It's in the Irish Independent. A breakthrough deal has been reached to reduce the hospital trolley crisis, free up beds and extend routine care for patients as thousands of healthcare staff look set to work over weekends. The agreement with healthcare unions will see senior consultants and, crucially, other staff, including social workers, administrative employees and therapists, rostered 5 over 7 days. It would mean hospitals would no longer be confined to providing routine care during weekdays and between office hours. The aim is to increase discharges of patients, avoid trolley gridlock after weekends, and hold more clinics, surgeries and diagnostic services over a longer week. Staff will initially be asked to volunteer for the new rosters, but those hired or promoted after December 2008 are likely to be told they are contractually obliged to change. A circular from HSE Chief People Officer Anne-Marie Hoey said agreement has been reached with health service trade unions on arrangements to facilitate the introduction of extended working weeks in the HSE and HSE funded agencies. So that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. That's not how we get sick. That's not how you can run hospitals to treat those who get sick. So we shall watch on and see how that improves things. Because you can see in the figures the problems at the weekends. Just interesting, if any of you are currently in the United States or have young people in the United States on visas or they intend to go, US visa applicants must disclose all social media. I mean, this is the great free speech country of the world looking to get in at your socials. But Irish students seeking US educational and exchange visas will be required to make their social media profiles public to allow officials to review their online activity, the US Embassy in Dublin has said. What do you think about this? In a statement yesterday, the embassy said the US State Department is committed to protecting our nation and our citizens by upholding the highest standards of national security and public safety through our visa process. A US visa is a privilege, not a right, it said. So what is your initial reaction to that? And let me flip it. So I suppose, a lot of people, you can understand what they think of you. You can understand their motivations. You can understand their background from their social media. I mean, how long is it maybe before someone in this country says that if you're seeking asylum here or you're seeking to move here for work, that we kind of need to know what your attitude is to Western society, to Europe, to Ireland. Do you hold any bad feelings? Do you understand stuff about the country or what have you? I mean, I would say there are probably those in this country that would welcome this, or maybe not. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. I suppose so in the first instance, do you believe the US is right to make sure it's screening people to ensure they're not a threat? And B, I suppose, who's going to be the first shock jock or politician to say we need to do this here to make sure that everybody's intentions who comes to Ireland are pure towards Ireland? Let me know, 086 60 25,000. Apparently there was no goodies, and I remember at the time when a government was being formed, and I asked about goodies and the costs of them, because I'd be a very strong advocate, and I'm entitled to say this, that if you give your support to a government, whichever the government is, you should firstly say what you're getting in exchange for that, but you should also then, I think, we should also know what the cost is to the taxpayer. So if someone from Cork supports the government, what are they getting for Cork and how much is it going to cost the state? Because then we can understand why maybe we're not getting something or how the whole process works. And I was told by, I can't remember which politician, it certainly was someone very high up in government, that there were no goodies. Well, here we go. The Irish Daily Mail. Government backbenchers are irate that independents who voted against the coalition are set to be rewarded with constituency goodies in the National Development Plan. The Irish Daily Mail has learned of growing frustration among the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael rank and file as NDP negotiations intensify, with all TDs anxious to see the needs of their constituents addressed. Many have voiced their discontent with the fact that Barry Henaghan, Gillian Toole and Danny Healy-Rae will have the ear of ministers and what might be perceived as a greater leverage in securing NDP commitments despite voting against the government in recent weeks. One Fianna Fáil TD said this can't be an a la carte arrangement where they support the government when it suits. They have the ear of ministers. They're getting more goodies than backbenchers, and they're apparently allowed to vote whichever way they want. They can't have it both ways. So listen, the obvious bit that everyone denied was that there were goodies going around. Now, I mean, would we mind if there was a independent or a smaller party that would support the government to fast track the Letterkenny Link Road? I think that would be welcomed. I don't think anyone would be critical of it. The Sun now, and the government will today move to ban trade between Ireland and occupied territories in Palestine. The Occupied Territories Bill was originally tabled by independent Senator Francis Black in 2018. It sought to stop trade between Ireland and illegally occupied parts of other countries, mainly aimed at Israel settlements in Palestine. However, successive governments blocked the legislation due to legal issues. Taoiseach Simon Harris will now table a watered-down version, the Israel Settlement Prohibition of Importation of Goods Bill, at a meeting at Cabinet today. It doesn't include services, but apparently the government's open to it into the future. And finally, Micheál Martin has vowed that further legislation cracking down on vapes will be introduced to target flavoured and disposable products. He made the comments at the World Conference on Tobacco Control, which is taking place this week at the Dublin Convention Centre, under plans devised by former Health Minister Stephen Donnelly. A new licensing system for the retail sale of tobacco products and nicotine inhaling products such as e-cigs will be introduced in February 2026. This will enable retail outlets to obtain annual licenses to sell them. So we could see the law on a ban on disposable vapes aligning with Britain and Northern Ireland as early as next February. The government say in the Star today that they are committed to that. 08660 25,000 if you want to give us a WhatsApp or text, or indeed send your WhatsApp voice notes, or call us on 07491 25,000.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Summer toys at Tinny's Toys. Everything for an outdoor summer. Swings, slides, trampolines, goalposts, rebounders, sand table, wheelbarrows. Of course, we also have our massive range of kids, pedal and electric toys. Need something for those rainy days? Well, we've that covered too, with the likes of Brooder Toys, Lego, Marvel Toys, books and more. Call into our store on the Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys, much more than just farm toys. Dan boy. At Eclipse Cinemas, Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, the stars shine brighter. This isn't just a trip to the movies, it's a VIP experience. Sit back in luxury as your favourite pizza,
yummy,
hot food and a cold drink are delivered right to your seat in any studio. But for the ultimate treat, step into the Director's Lounge, our most popular destination. Enjoy the film, enjoy the food and savour the experience. Only at Eclipse Cinemas, Bundoran and Lifford Strabane.
At Restex Beds, we are celebrating 50 incredible years in business. And we are introducing our brand new Glenveigh mattress. Comfort that's as legendary as our half-century legacy. Experience 50 years of bedding excellence at Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Restex Beds. Leave the rest to us.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all. You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800 370 000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
Rossview Interiors in Letterkenny are delighted to offer a limited quantity of sofas just in at unbelievable knockdown prices, with suites reduced from €2,050 to €1,250, and corner suites from just €1,350. There's also storage beds down from €650 to €450, and huge savings on a selected range of dining sets. So make your way to Rossview Interiors. Rossview Business Park, Letterkenny, just off the Polestar roundabout, as these bargains won't last.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Well, the time now is 21 minutes past 9. You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. And we are going to get reaction now to the news that the A5, a ruling has found that the A5 cannot proceed as such. Let's see if I can go to Niall McKenna, chair of the Enough is Enough campaign group. Good morning, Niall. Are you there? Hello, Niall. Right, I'll come back to Niall in a moment. I think Councillor Joy Bird is there, Joy Beard. Good morning, Joy.
Good morning, Greg.
Thank you so much for joining us. And as I say, I'll get to Niall McKenna in a moment. You're also a member of the Northwest Regional Development Group. This is a major blow for anyone using the A5, not least us, as it's our main route, particularly, I suppose, in the north of the county, down to Dublin, etc. This is a big blow.
It definitely is, Greg. I think we were all waiting and anticipation of the word coming through yesterday that it has been given the go-ahead, but sadly that didn't happen. As you've mentioned there, it is the main route linking, ourselves here in Donegal to Dublin and the rest of Ireland. We have to remember we have no rail, we have no motorways, and, we've under-resourced local services. So the A5 was a vital link. And I'm hoping, obviously that court ruling yesterday, we have to respect the courts. But I think there has to be a balance due to the safety issues on that road. It has to be delivered, Greg. That's the long and the short of it. It's too dangerous. Like, we've had over 50 people since 2006, have lost their lives on that road. And speaking to one of the families yesterday, they were absolutely devastated, Greg. we can't allow this road not to continue. It's too important. Like, you know yourself, you've highlighted it, you know, about us having to travel for our healthcare. Certainly we should never have to travel for essential healthcare, but this is what we've got. And that road possibly would have made it a little easier for people, you know, again, for tourism as well, for people coming into Donegal. I don't need to tell anybody just how wonderful Donegal is, the most scenic, you know, regions in Ireland, I believe. And tourism as a major part of our economy. And this road plays a vital role in getting people to Donegal.
Yeah, I wonder how they'll overcome the problems here, because in his findings, the judge said that the road was not mentioned in Stormont's draft climate action plan published last week. And he said this was despite the fact that Northern Ireland might already experience difficulty staying within its carbon budget, which had been set in the plan. I mean, should we have not been able to be confident that the civil service, the government in Northern Ireland could have foreseen this? I mean, this is kind of seems like an obvious oversight, which is quite troubling. And my eye keeps being drawn to this. How could they not have predicted this might happen?
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think that something should have been addressed there and then. So as this wouldn't have happened yesterday, you know. Obviously, it was a breach of the Northern Ireland Climate Change Act 2022. I think there was lack of sufficient information on different environmental impacts as well. And I think it was cited inadequate public documentation on carbon emissions and mitigation measures were what were cited as part of why it was what happened yesterday. But it's very important that we have to look forward now. We have to make sure that, you know, that it moves forward now. The A5, you know, we've got the political will there, we've got the funding is there, which is a strange thing to have both, you know, working hand in hand. So now is the focus to resolving those courts' concerns and being in compliance with environmental and climate legislation, and finally get this work started, whatever it takes to get it done.
Yeah, Niall McKenna, chair of Enough is Enough campaign, is with us now. Niall, I mean, obviously everyone's incredibly disappointed by this decision. Where does it leave us?
Morning, Greg. Well, look, after yesterday was obviously a very disappointing day for our group and for the families of the victims of the A5 road. They're disheartened, obviously, at the moment, but they certainly not give up hoping on the scheme progressing quickly.
Do you see any positives from the judgment yesterday?
Well, I suppose the only positive in it really was that, you know, obviously going through the application in so much detail and pointing out weaknesses in the application, he has now provided a roadmap for the scheme to go ahead. So if those issues can be addressed, whether that, you know, would be via the department or whether it would be through some have talked about emergency legislation at Stormont, then I think that the judge has provided that roadmap for the scheme to go ahead.
Do you think, though, that it's concerning that such an oversight from Stormont allowed this judgment to be found? I mean, surely whomever was responsible for this, be it elected reps or civil servants, this project not being included in a draft climate action plan published just last week, it seems at the very least a very basic oversight, but very significant.
I'd be more concerned, Greg, about the systemic failure over 20 years. You know, it's July 2007 since this scheme first got cross-party support in Stormont and first got given the go-ahead. Now, more importantly, since July 2007, 57 people have died on that road. And we would argue needlessly if the scheme had been delivered when it should have. So yesterday's decision is the third occasion that, you know, the judiciary here in the north, has overturned a DFA application. You know, and there's something systemically wrong here in the north that allows or does not allow for these large capital projects to go ahead. You know, I think the overwhelming feeling of the families yesterday was, you know, the laws of the land are supposed to be there to serve the people. They're supposed to be there to protect the people. The judgment itself recognises that this scheme has huge societal benefits. And how can a legal system, how can the laws of the land thwart what the vast majority of the people want? Something systemically wrong.
Yeah, you referenced the judge's comments. He said the shortcomings and shortcuts in the decision-making highlighted in the judgment are capable of being remedied. Ministers should redouble their efforts to deal with the shortcomings so that sooner or later a new and safer A5 dual carriageway may come into operation and the long list of names of those who have perished on that road will not be added to. So he's put it back on the lap of Stormont effectively. The will is there, do you believe, to redouble efforts to overcome these shortcomings?
The will is most definitely there. It is one of the few schemes in the north that has had cross-party support since its inception. Quite a rarity. So the political will is there, you know, and the vast majority of the people in West Tyrone and further want this to go ahead. So there's obviously a strong body of support for it, so we would expect to proceed.
Okay, fingers crossed. Hopefully this is just a blip. Thank you very much indeed. Niall McKenna, Chair of the Enough is Enough campaign. And I suppose, Councillor Beard, if there is any additional pressure or support to come from the South, we hope that's forthcoming as well.
Oh, for sure. And I think there has already been that commitment, you know, to get people around the table, you know, to make sure that this moves forward. It's too vital to let this go. And I think everyone's on the same page. As I said, it's not very often we have the political will, but we've certainly got that, and the funding is in place. So look, we've just got to get this sorted now and get it moving forward, you know, before there's another tragedy on that road.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, we know that probably won't be the case, such is the frequency of tragedy. Thank you very much, Councillor Joy Beard there. George Mills is former member of the Irish Road Hauliers Association and I suppose knows firsthand how dangerous this road is. George, devastated by the decision, I'm sure.
Good morning, Sean, or Greg, sorry, and thanks for having me on. Yes, I am absolutely devastated by this decision. I can't believe that it's been put off again indefinitely. We don't know when it will be resumed. I've been driving trucks on that road for 50 years, and it's totally not suitable for purpose. So I'm gutted that it's not going to be upgraded. It's years out of date.
And I mean, obviously we can talk about overcoming these shortcomings and make sure it goes ahead, but we've been at this crack for 20 years now. You know, what will be the next loophole or plot for that will be exploited to stop this road going ahead? I don't want to be pessimistic, but, you know, it seems a crazy oversight by Stormont not to include this in their climate action plan. Whether it should be in there or not is a... You know, whether that should exist or not, it's a different debate. But the bottom line is that you know, I mean, that seemed a pretty basic mistake to me.
Yes, Greg, the volume's very bad on my phone here. Actually, I can hardly hear what you're saying, but I get some of it, and I agree that they didn't dot their I's or stroke their T's correctly, and that's why it was able to be successfully appealed yesterday, but that's to me a disgrace that just because of that road safety has taken second place to environmental concerns. So I really, for Donegal and Sean in particular, and Donegal in general, the A5 is to us what the Panama Canal is to America. To get from one side of America to the other without being able to use the Panama Canal for ships would be out of the question, and it's the same for us in Inishowen in particular and Donegal in general. To get to our capital city, we have to use the A5. So it's our Panama Canal, and it's vitally important to us. And I do think that our own politicians don't push it hard enough, particularly maybe in Donegal. But I was impressed by Pat de Cope this morning, who was weighing into the debate and pushing it hard, because it concerns us and we're putting money into it. And as I said about the Panama Canal, it was America built the Panama Canal. It might be in another country, but and they seem to have control over it. But I think it was American money that built it. So we're in a similar situation on a much smaller scale, of course. And as far as environmental concerns go, it seems that a lot of the emissions, maybe for the environment, which we're told about, are coming from slurry and agriculture and so on. Which I'm a farmer myself, and I have sympathy for farming. But that's a bigger issue in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but rather than getting bogged into that, I mean, the bottom line is that it wasn't included. It wasn't included in the Climate Action Plan. You know, whether or not it's farmers or roads or whatever that contribute to damage to the environment, the bottom line is this major piece of infrastructure was not part of the Stormont's Draft Climate Action Plan 2023 to 2027. I mean, that's a crazy oversight. Listen, thanks, George, for that. Councillor Paul Canning is chair of the A5 committee, and I'm sure, Paul, not that it's the biggest issue of the day, you'd be quick to point out that we in Donegal, be it the council, be it the chamber, be it the Derry chamber, you know, all singing off the one hymn sheet and really pushing to get this project over the line for all the reasons that are so obvious.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And good morning to you and good morning to your listeners. But we are meeting as the A5N2 committee. We are meeting with the Minister, Liz Kimmins, today. She's the Minister for Infrastructure. We're meeting her in Stormont at 2:00 today. The situation with it, just to give you, we have a committee, and it's made up of the 5 councils. It's made up of the Donegal, Derry, Staban, Mid-Ulster, Fermanagh, Omagh and Monaghan, and we have four councillors, and then we have the roads official as well, giving us updates all the time. But we had sought this meeting prior to the decision by the courts, and in fairness to the minister, she has given us a meeting today. So we will be meeting with her, and we will be stressing our concerns, and hopefully she has an update for us in relation to the next steps, because there's no point in crying over spilt milk. So I'll give you a better update maybe tomorrow as to what steps we're taking, you know.
But the judge has put the ball back in Stormont's court, and in fairness, Stormont really in this instance is the figurehead of all of us here. He said that he's had to reject it on the grounds that he did, but he has said, and who knows better than he is, he's went through all of this, that the shortcomings can be overcome. So it'll be very interesting to see what Liz Kimmins says to you about as to how they are going to overcome these shortcomings as they're described by the judge.
Yeah, well, you see, it's a situation, and at times we're all caught up in legislation, and unfortunately, and the judge's hands were tied, because he's a legislator for the legislation, and he can't go different. It's a wee bit like Board Planala. They can't, if it's there, it's there, and that's it. And the problem is, when you have an act that was changed in 2022, this, as the man says, this A5 has been going on for 20 years. So there's probably items in there that didn't meet the 2022 Act or the legislation. So in relation to the climate change in particular, we have change of emissions, etc., because we're trying to meet targets of 2030, 2040. So those targets have been updated and upgraded. And in the middle of it all, our A5 plan, process, whatever, is probably caught offside insofar as it hasn't referenced the new Act, which couldn't at the time that you were doing the actual assessment. So if you go out to do an assessment, you can only do the assessment on what is happening today that you're doing the assessment. So I think that, now I'm only preempting that, but from my own experience, these are the things that come back to bite us, and it's red tape. But the judge cannot say, well, if spots and maybes, he has to go by what's in front of him and what's in black and white. So I'm hoping that Liz Kimmins tells us today that how the civil servants, the teams, the professionals that's involved says, listen, This is something that we just have to go back in through the system.
I still can't get. I still can't get over the fact that people responsible for all of this did not believe that this development should have been in a climate action plan. But I take your point, and we might check in with you, Paul, tomorrow, actually, just to see how that meeting went. Okay, thanks so much. Yeah. Councillor Paul Canning, Chair of the A5 Committee, and actually just been handed the note, brief note, Senator Noel Blaney, member of the Good Friday Agreement. And I think myself and yourself might be somewhat on the same page in relation to this, that this shouldn't really... The judge shouldn't have been able to identify this as the latest stumbling block for this road project. That's your feelings, is it?
Well, that's part of some of my feeling. I don't think he needed to stop the project on the back of it, because this is a rolling process, as Paul has somewhat outlined there, in relation to climate change. He could have made an order that the scheme would comply with any new legislation that's there or will be in existence during the lifetime of the project. I don't think it's sufficient. You know, he never took into consideration the greenhouse gas emissions that people suffer on a daily basis going through Omagh, where traffic's sitting for half hour and beyond on the way into it. He never took into consideration those that have to leave this region because of no jobs, because of the poor infrastructure coming into the area, and also the oral hearing that was actually held in Omagh, Greg, where emergency services went down and made the case for the road. There was many factors that he hasn't considered here, and I feel and I wonder how much pressure the judge was under, and maybe it was wrong for one judge to make the case. But there is an opportunity for this to be appealed, and let's not forget that. The one point I want to make strongly here: I've been fighting this campaign since the first National Development Plan was approved in the South in 2000, when that was left out, because there was no real links or collaboration with politicians in Northern Ireland or the Assembly. I remember going to several deputations to Bertie here, and back in that time in 2000, traffic count at Omagh on the halfway point of the A5 was actually the same as Galway, Dublin, who at that stage didn't have a motorway either. And look how much they have progressed in the meantime, and how much we haven't. And then you take a look at the A6, which there was East Tyrone. East Tyrone is now, I suppose, nearly the hub for Northern Ireland for exports. All the manufacturing businesses that's there because of the new roadway that's there. And, you know, if we go back to 2016 when funding was in place, and I remember Pierre Storty and Pat McLaughlin telling me on one of your shows in 2015, don't worry now, Conor Murphy has this. They pulled in the executive in 2016 and we lost all the funding and we lost the project. And now we're sitting with an incompetent minister and a department who couldn't make the scheme comply with their own legislation. Now, if Sinn Féin were on the other side of the counter here, they would actually be calling for a head to roll. And I don't hear them this morning. And I think there is a lot of incompetence in relation to this project.
Why do you believe her head should roll, Niall?
There has been a trailing of the legs in relation to that department over the last number of years in relation to this project. Granted, we got it over the line last year, but by God, was it hard work to get it passed. I don't believe that it's in Sinn Féin's interest to have the project go ahead. They'll tell you otherwise, etc.
So you're implying that I mean, obviously we can go by what the judge said and the holes that the judge pointed out. He says they can be overcome, but explain to me what you believe the process was. Like, do you believe that? Are you suggesting that Sinn Féin purposely have done something to prevent this going ahead?
I think there's been a dragging of the feet in relation to this scheme for quite a number of years now, and mostly it's been a Sinn Féin minister in the department. It's ongoing and it's hard work to get anything moving in relation to the A5, and I don't believe that's happening by chance.
So are you saying something as basic as this major road infrastructure not being included in a climate action plan? You're not suggesting that was done on purpose, are you?
I'm saying there's a dragging of the heels, a dragging of the feet. Like this happened in any other jurisdiction, Greg. There would be calls for a minister to roll, and the incompetence would be called out. But there seems to be a fear to say anything when it comes to the likes of Sinn Féin in Northern Ireland. There is a level of incompetence here when a minister can't have a scheme in line with their own legislation as passed in their own legislature. It's incompetence of the highest order. The minister should have been on top of this, or officials should have been on top of this. And it's not even just in relation to that. You take the likes of Lough Neagh, you have similar issues. We have a mega scheme now in the south, but there's plenty of houses in Derry and Tyrone and Fermanagh, and nobody's calling for them. There is a dragging of the feet in relation to doing the necessary work for the people of Northern Ireland by their politicians.
But I just would have thought that the Attorney General or equivalent, that someone at some point should have spotted the fact that this project being not included in a major plan, and it is the biggest project in Northern Ireland, that was a potential for it being stalled once again. Lots of questions. Thank you very much indeed, Senator Niall Blaney, member of the Good Friday Agreement.
This July 18th and 19th, Gweedore comes alive with Salt Music Festival 2025. On Saturday 19th, experience The Stunning, the Sharon Shannon Big Band with Garen Noon, the Luke Combs Experience, and many more. For more information and tickets, go to saltfela.ie. Salt Music Festival 2025. 2 days, one place, great music.
New store, new project. Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up, fresh colour for your walls, or a new kitchen? Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. 07495 32575.
I had problems with my knees for about 7-8 years. I think I'd give Kingsbridge 5 stars just because of the support and help that they gave me before and after the surgery. I was a public patient and the HSE reimbursed the cost.
Republic of Ireland residents can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
Don't miss the 33rd annual Finn Valley Show at Russell Brothers Farm, Killygordon on Saturday 28th of June. Enjoy dog, home industries, poultry, sheep, cattle, horse and pony classes. Plus the Fast and Furious Donkey Derby. There's also a show and shine tractor competition judged by Kirsty Ward from Grassmen. With live music from Jason McGahl and Anthony Redstone, trade stands and children's entertainment. It's sure to be a fun-filled day at the Finn Valley Show on Saturday 28th of June. This ad is brought to you by Kieran's Butchers Rafoe, a family-run butcher bringing the finest meats from Donegal farms to your table.
This summer, the Big Top is calling. Summer Sessions Letterkenny presents The Human League, live on August the 21st for one unmissable night. Plus special guests including Nick Kershaw and The Undertones. And it's your last chance to grab the final tickets at summer-sessions.ie. Also rocking the Summer Sessions stage, the Saw Doctors with special guests. That's The Human League, August the 21st in Letterkenny, under the Big Top. Follow Summer Sessions Letterkenny on social media for all the latest updates.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor porcelain tiles, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
Indulge yourself with friends or a loved one at the Spa at Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel in Bundoran. A midweek or weekend spa break is the perfect way to escape from life for a while. Take a leisurely walk along the Atlantic coast. Enjoy a dip in our private pool, a plunge in our Canadian hot tub, and treatments of your choice before dining in one of the Holyrood Hotel's acclaimed restaurants. The Spa at Orchids. Book now at holyroodhotel.com.
Ready to transform your smile? Discover the magic of Blue Poppy Dental in Letterkenny and Donegal Town. With implantologists, surgical and cosmetic dentists, orthodontists and an endodontist all under one roof, we've got all your dental needs covered. Starting your journey is easy. Call us on 074 91 20355 or book your appointment online anytime through our user-friendly patient portal at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, where smiles shine brighter. Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Okay, so mostly cloudy to begin with today, with patchy rain and drizzle. Drier and brighter intervals will increase as the day goes on. Temperatures of 15 to 19 degrees. Well, the situation in the Middle East is moving incredibly rapidly. Israel's defense minister has accused Iran of violating the ceasefire just 2 hours after agreeing to the deal brokered by Donald Trump and Qatar. Israel has vowed to respond forcibly to Iran's violation of the ceasefire. Iran claims that it hasn't breached the ceasefire. Dr. Vincent Durack is Associate Professor in Middle East Politics at UCD, and delighted to welcome him onto the show. Good morning, Doctor. Thanks so much for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Nice to be with you.
Vincent, things are moving so quickly. I mean, we invited you on initially, I think, just to talk about where we go next. Since then, we've had a ceasefire. And even since then, in the last, half an hour, we've had accusations that this ceasefire has been breached. How does one read the situation?
With enormous difficulty, I think, as you've just pointed out. It really is moving very quickly. The ceasefire, I think, caught everyone by surprise, but then again, just about everything that's happened over the last 12 days has caught everybody by surprise. It's a little bit difficult to know quite what the arrangement was that Trump claims to have made with the Iranians and the Israelis. It's difficult to know why, if they actually did agree a ceasefire, why Iran would launch a single missile towards Haifa, which I think is the target, we are told. If it's a concerted attempt to break the ceasefire, then everything's up for grabs. If it's a question of miscommunication, chain of command issues, who knows, then it may simply be a hiccup, albeit a potentially violent one, if the Israelis respond by attacking Tehran, which is precisely what they've said they will do.
Israel were open to this, and I think it was they that reached out to Qatar initially to say that, we're prepared to end this now because we've achieved our stated objectives. What were Israel's objectives in the last?
Yeah, that's a great question. What their objectives were seem to have shifted a little, and again, that's not unique in terms of the various conflicts in which Israel has been embroiled over the last 2.5 years, nearly 3 years now. Ostensibly, this was about putting an end to Iran's nuclear capability. And the assertion that they've done so is clearly fraught, because there are very many people who have doubts about the extent of the damage that has been done to that nuclear capability. And, I'm no nuclear scientist, but anybody who does any reading on this can see, excuse me, that there are questions about, for instance, the location of significant quantities of enriched uranium, which is central to the production of any nuclear weapon. There are questions around whether or not Iran has secret sites of which we do not know. And clearly, since this began, even though Iran is a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, nobody has gotten into Iran to see exactly what's been going on. And those who do know about these things are skeptical to varying extents regarding the extent to which the nuclear capability of Iran has been completely eliminated, as some claim was the Israeli
objective. If I had a block of gold and I had it sitting on the coffee table in my front room, and I knew weeks and weeks in advance that burglars were going to come and take my block of gold, I am not going to leave it there. I mean, that for us to be expected to buy that is well, we can't be so naive, and certainly the Iranians aren't. And you know how the strength of any bomb they're able to create depends on the level of enrichment of the uranium, and we're told that even uranium enriched at 60%, which they have, would be capable of making a Hiroshima type bomb. So it's very hard for us to be expected to swallow that the United States and Israel, 2 weeks from this bomb being made, as if someone is just waiting to plug in the power pack, that all has been alleviated by the last number of days and the actions by the US.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, and that's precisely what a lot of people are saying. And in addition, there seems to be very clear satellite evidence of trucks being loaded at the now incredibly well known Ferdow plant, of which nobody knew anything a few weeks ago. There is undoubtedly a great deal of reason to believe, exactly as you said, that the Iranians anticipated attacks. They've been threatened with this for a long, long time. The likelihood in turn that they concentrated all of their relevant resources in 3 different locations is pretty minimal. They've been penetrated by Israeli and American intelligence in all sorts of ways. That is all the more reason why you would disperse the resources available to you.
And Vladimir Putin, though not widely reported, has stated quite clearly that their capabilities have barely been damaged in this latest round of attacks. So I asked you why Israel would go with a ceasefire. Why would Iran?
Well, Iran would go with the ceasefire simply because they're incurring a great deal of damage, without a shadow of a doubt. And for the Iranian regime, the first and foremost objective is survival. Everything, we're not just talking about nuclear capability, but that obviously is part of the picture. Everything pretty much that they've done since 1979 has been targeted at maintaining status quo maintenance. And that has involved a great deal of pragmatism in contrast to some of the fiery rhetoric. Undoubtedly, in turn, this is a very nasty regime. It certainly has created a great deal of trouble in the region, but they are capable of being incredibly pragmatic in pursuit of that key objective. And to some extent, for the Iranian regime, simply to be standing up in the context of an onslaught from the world's greatest superpower and the strongest military force in the region is a success of a kind.
Donald Trump is playing extremely high stakes stuff here with his overnight declarations, because if this ceasefire is breached, it sort of undermines his position as a broker, but B, too, there comes a point then whereby he has to sort of decide what to do next, to flex the muscles or what have you, because he can't be seen to have failed in this. That being said, he kind of turned his back and walked away on the Ukraine-Russia situation, so who's to say he might not do the same? I suspect he won't turn his back on Israel, however.
Yeah, the difference here, of course, is that unlike Ukraine, the US was all in after an initial period of hesitation following the first Israeli attacks on Iran. So there is, exactly as you say, there's a great deal of prestige, if you like, without trivializing it, attached to how this unravels one way or another for Trump. And the big question is, if the ceasefire doesn't hold, what exactly is the US about? Launching more attacks on Iran, they can do, obviously. Between the two countries' military apparatuses, they can fly above Iran, it seems, with abandon. But what the end game is another matter, and that then brings us into that whole murky set of questions about whether or not Trump or anybody else really wants to see a change of regime in Tehran, and even if they did want to see it, are they capable of bringing it about, and could they live with the consequences?
So many questions, even just around the level of orchestration. How, the attack on US bases in Qatar, that they were cleared, there was warning. How much of that was for Iran to say, look, we've responded, we're not weak, and now we'll go for peace? It's remarkable to see it play out. To play out live and to sort of feel like you have an insight into what's happening in the background and not waiting 30 years for a memoir. Dr. Vincent Durack, thank you so much for your expertise. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. He's Associate Professor in Middle East Politics at UCD. All right, coming up after the news at 10, we have Community Garda information. And of course, there's so much more coming up on the 9 till noon show. We'll also be discussing Donegal's quick turnaround to play Monaghan next Saturday.
Who the hell are you? Get ready, Donegal. Highland Radio is throwing a party like no other. It's the Big Highland Summer Bingo Party, hosted with me, Keith Fletcher.
And Mealy Gooch Hawaiian shirts, hulas, how the hula are ya? Big laughs and even bigger cash prizes. With €1,000 up for grabs, expect big party tunes, madness and just a little bit of mayhem.
So, Saturday the 2nd of August at Jackson's Hotel, Ballybofey.
You better get your tickets quick on eventbrite.com.
Hey, what? Is it over 18s?
You better mention it's over 18.
Okay. And it's over 18s.
Euronics is celebrating 20 years in Ireland with amazing offers across all departments. Buy a gas cooker or hob and get free gas. Get big savings on washing machines, fridge freezers, TVs, laptops and more. Visit Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny or the shopping centre Dunlow.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
It's extremely big, it's extremely scary, and it's extremely good fun. Extreme Fun Fair, the most extreme fun fair to ever visit Letterkenny. From June the 28th to July the 13th at the Kiltoy Roundabout. See Facebook, Instagram or book now at extremefunfair.ie.
I had problems with my knees for about 7-8 years. I think I'd give Kingsbridge 5 stars just because of the support and help that they gave me before and after the surgery. I was a public patient and the HSE reimbursed the cost.
Republic of Ireland residents can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A delegation of councillors from the North West is meeting with Infrastructure Minister Liz Kimmins in Stormont this afternoon to discuss the latest setback to plans for the upgrade of the A5. The A5N2 committee is chaired by Donegal councillor Paul Canning. He says he'll have a clearer view of the situation after today's meeting. Councillor Canning says the request for the meeting was made before yesterday's court decision was announced.
As the A5N2 committee, we are meeting with the Minister Liz Kimmins today. We have a committee and it's made up of the 5 councils: Donegal, Derry, Stavan, Mid-Ulster, Fermanagh and Monaghan. We have 4 councillors and then we have the roads official as well, giving us updates all the time. But we had sought this meeting prior to the decision by the courts, and in fairness to the Minister, she has given us a meeting today.
In a statement this morning, Derry Chamber says aside from its urgent necessity in terms of safety, the new A5 project would have acted as a key infrastructural project to unlock connectivity and help deliver regional balance on both sides of the border by enabling greater economic activity in Tyrone, Derry and Donegal. They say the ruling also raises serious questions about other infrastructural projects in Northern Ireland. Well, Donegal councillor Joy Breard is a member of the North West Regional Development Group. She says the failures in terms of climate legislation compliance have been clearly laid out, and said on this morning's 9 till noon show, it's now time to look forward and address them.
We have to look forward now. We've got the political will there. We've got the funding is there, which is a strange thing to have both, working hand in hand. Now is the focus to resolving those courts' concerns and being in compliance with environmental and climate legislation, and finally get this work started, whatever it takes to get it done.
A deal's been struck between the HSE and trade unions to bring in an extended working week. It'll see consultants and other staff rostered for 5 days over 7. The HSE hopes the changes will help speed up care and discharges from hospital beds. Labour's health spokesperson Marie Sherlock says although it's a positive step forward, it doesn't address the bigger issue of staff shortages.
This is an important breakthrough and certainly will provide some reassurance to patients facing ED departments at weekends and indeed to staff. But I suppose the bigger issue for me here really is the staffing levels within hospitals at this point in time. Like we know at the end of last year, there was 785 unfilled consultant posts.
The Taoiseach says updated travel advice for the Middle East remains in place despite confirmation of a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Last night, the Department of Foreign Affairs updated advice for Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. Irish citizens are urged to exercise a high degree of caution, monitor media updates and follow the advice of local authorities. Taoiseach Simon Harris says they're keeping a very close eye on things.
This afternoon after Cabinet, I'm going to convene a meeting of all of our ambassadors and embassy representatives across the Middle East region because I want to get from them the very latest information on the ground in terms of our own Irish citizens, the presence of Irish people in the region, and indeed review and consider the best updated travel advice to provide to the people of Ireland and the citizens of Ireland.
Police in Tyrone have charged a man with a number of driving offences after an officer was dragged by a car during a traffic stop in Omagh on Sunday. The 24-year-old's been charged with driving with excess alcohol, failing to stop for police, assault on police and causing grievous bodily injury by dangerous driving. He's due before Omagh Magistrates Court on Tuesday, July 8th. Garda, meanwhile, stopped a vehicle in the Fawn area yesterday morning. The driver tested positive for cocaine, cannabis and amphetamine. An arrest was made. Then after lunchtime, a vehicle was observed driving in a dangerous manner in the Bridgend area. It was located parked by the Buncrana Roads Policing Unit a short time later, and the vehicle was subsequently seized. Looking at the weather forecast, and Met Éireann say after a mostly cloudy start, drier and brighter intervals will increase as today goes on. Top temperatures 15 to 19 degrees Celsius with moderate southwest winds, decreasing light to moderate later. Variable cloud and clear breaks tonight with scattered mainly light showers. Isolated mist patches as well in lowest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees Celsius. Variable cloud amounts, some sunshine and just a few showers for much of tomorrow Wednesday. Cloud thickening from the Atlantic as the day goes on with rain turning heavy at times by tomorrow evening. Top temperatures on Wednesday 17 to 20 degrees Celsius in light to moderate southerly winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with headlines again at 11 o'clock. In the interim, check all today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, the 24th of June. The death has taken place of Neil Joe Ruddy, Dunross, Cooldaff. Neil's remains will leave Eamon McLaughlin's funeral home, Station Road, Carndonagh, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, going to his home. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock funeral mass in St Mary's Church, Buchan, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on cooldaffparish.com. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired, to Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. The death has taken place of Michael McGeoghan, 49 Steelstown Village, Derry, formerly of River Row, Moville. Michael's remains are reposing at his home in Steelstown Village. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:30 for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass in Our Lady of Lourdes Church, Steelstown, followed by interment in Drung Cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Pauline Madlone, Main Street, Rathmullen. Requiem Mass in St Joseph's Church, Rathmullen, tomorrow Wednesday morning at 11, followed by private cremation. Family flowers only please. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on mcn.live. No wake. The house is strictly private, please. The death has occurred of John Patterson, formerly of Meanloher, Castle Finn. Funeral this afternoon in Donegal Presbyterian Church, Liscooley, with service at 2:30, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired, to the Donegal Hospice. The death has occurred of Rosaleen McCauley, née Crawford, Sesha, Castle Finn. Her remains will repose at her late residence today from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Castle Finn for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in St Columbus Church Cemetery, Dunnyloop. House private to family only please, before the funeral tomorrow. The funeral mass can be viewed on the parish YouTube channel. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired, to Cancer Research and Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. And the death has occurred of Kathleen O'Donnell, née Shields, 33 Ballyrain Park, Letterkenny, late of Port Salon Fanad, previously of Ard O'Donnell. Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock this morning in St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, with burial afterwards in New Leck Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.ie. Highland
Radio. Summer's here! Yay! So it's time to stock up on sun protection at Aldi. There's something for everyone, like Lacora SPF 50 Plus Kids Roll-On at only $3.49. SPF 30 Dry Mist Spray for $3.99. And After Sun with Soothing Aloe Vera at just $2.49. All water resistant and dermatologically tested. So spread the word. And the sun cream, while stocks last.
You're very welcome into the second hour of the 9 till noon show. How are you all doing? Hope your Tuesday is going well for you. Coming up shortly, Garda Grania Doherty will join us for Community Garda information. Later on in this hour, we're going to be talking about Donegal's game on Saturday and the fact that it is on Saturday. And we want your views on all of that. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApps and text number, 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Now, we were talking about the A5 in the first hour, the fact that a judge has said that it can't go forward. And Deputy Charles Ward of the 100% Redress Party, he happens to be travelling to Dublin on the A5 on a bus, and he sent us this voice note.
I'm actually on the bus on the way down to Dublin. Outside Silver Mills tea rooms, just past Oma. A car just literally as we're going past has went through a pole, and the people got out of it. They're okay. A BMW. Crazy road. This is absolutely life in your hands job, driving on this road. I've never actually seen somebody get out of a car like that. Thank God they're all right.
And it's not unusual that whilst we're talking about the dangers of the A5, that a collision happens on it. Such is the nature of that road. We appreciate Deputy Charles Ward's messaging in there. And of course, you can send your voice messages into us as well on WhatsApp, 086 60 25,000. Why has no county board come forward to say that this is wrong and unfair to Donegal players? All we want is a fair deal. Too much to ask for. Shame on the GEA powers that be and to the county boards throughout the land for not speaking up in support of players who've given their all to the game. That comes in from Annan Carndon. And I don't disagree with you. I don't think we could expect other county boards to sort of say, I mean, at the end of the day, any team will take any advantage. Look, at the game on Sunday, Louth were delayed. Donegal forgotten again by the bus driver, seemingly. He ended up in Sligo. And they were looking for a 15-minute delay of the game. It wasn't given to them. I think it's the ref probably makes the final decision in relation to that. But the TV channels and others would have their say as well. So, you know, did we take that potential competitive advantage and not worry too much about the opposition? Probably, if the truth be told. Good morning, Greg. In relation to this decision on the A5, the Dun given to Derry dual carriageway went ahead without all the delay issues. A great road now. That comes in from John. For people travelling to Dunlow, from Dunlow to Crawley, there's a Gaeltacht school in Lochanur at the moment. Please be aware there are lots of young people about, so it's busy. Please be cautious, slow down. Someone could easily be knocked down. And I do find that in different parts of this county, when people come into it, they sort of are on a summer vibe. And you do, as I say, you do see that around, you know, places like Bundoran, Lochanur, you see it in Downings, that people come into an area, they're on their holidays, and it's almost like they feel, and it's not necessarily criticism, it's almost like they feel they're in a big, massive adventure park that they can just walk wherever they like, however they like. That's just part, I suppose, living in an attractive location to tourists. And they may not be listening to this show because they're not from here. So we have to be extra careful, I suppose. Hi, Greg. It's clear from yesterday's ruling that the A5 has been blocked due to the Stormont government. Kimmins should be sacked, says that caller. Somebody is deliberately messing up on the planning. It's an inside job, Greg. It keeps happening for this road. I can understand your frustration and where you might come to that decision. Can families of the bereaved sue the government over the A5 delay? I used to work in Dublin and be on that road all the time. Every time I left home, I was afraid until I got off it. I would say the last thing the families want to do, and I'm not sure, maybe they are, is find themselves dragged through the Northern Irish courts for years upon years upon years as they try and grieve their loved ones. Could they potentially, I presume there's a lawyer would take it on, have the motivation to do so? I'm not sure. Would it speed things up? No. Morning, Greg. Who's actually blocking the A5? I know the breach they are talking about now, but rumours from people in the area are that people of certain religions are deliberately putting spanners in the works. Did you hear that argument anywhere? No. I'm not sure if there's a religious breakdown of the landowners and those that are opposed to it, to be honest with you. Given our history, is it possible that certain tranches of land are owned by people of certain religions? Potentially, I don't know. Regarding the A5, we can't be environmentalists and rip up land to put a road through. Climate change and the environment are given too much power. We can't have environmentalists, I believe they're saying. But, this just wasn't included in an important government document. It's not like there are people standing on the side of the road opposing the A5 on climate grounds. The objectors found that flaw in the planning process, which arguably should never have happened. A couple of requests, if you don't mind, as we do around about this time. And if you want someone's request or name included in this part of the show, please feel free to get it into us. We normally get a few requests played around about 10, and they're normally special ones, actually. But all birthdays are special. And these are for a very special lady whose name is Susan Devlin. And Susan is from Clonmany, and she's 92 years old today. And wait till you hear this. She's a mother of 16, a grandmother of 35, and a great-grandmother of 31, and a great-great-grandmother of 1. What an amazing family that you have, Susan. 16 kids of her own, 35 grandchildren, 31 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandmother. Have a fabulous day from all of us here at Highland Radio and everyone listening, of course, Susan, but particularly from those that sent this in for you. Stephen, Katrina, Bobby and Ben. And more nice wishes for you, Susan, this time coming in from Elizabeth, Geraldine, Eddie and James. Have a wonderful day. How many presents do you get when you've got that many of a family? Just adding it up here, right? Between children and grandchildren, 35 and 31 is 66, 67, 77, 83. So imagine having 83 children, grandchildren or great-grandchildren and a great-great-grandchild. 73. That is remarkable. Brilliant stuff. Okay, back with more after these.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 24th of June. You're playing on the brown sheet for the daily prize of €600. The reference number is S7. It's game number 26. The numbers are 46, 1, 40, 84, 63, 87, 64, 57, 66, and finally 69. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Charge into summer with TUI. Choose from a beach cruise or city break or Mexico flying direct from Dublin. Holiday sorted. TUI, live happy.
Celebrate your love at Encourage Hotel, nestled in the heart of Donegal. With breathtaking views of Errigal Mountain and elegant surroundings, our venue offers the perfect setting for your special day. Experience exceptional service and create unforgettable memories. Discover more at encouragehotel.com.
Get ready for big savings in the Hillary Summer Sale. Enjoy up to 50% off hundreds of made-to-measure blinds, curtains and shutters. Plus, there's €50 off your blind order when you choose electric, making controlling your blinds a breeze. And if you find the same product with the same service for less, we'll match the price. Book your free in-home appointment today at hillarys.ie. Don't settle for off the shelf. Let us take the stress away. It's what we've been doing for over 40 years. Hillary's Summer Sale. For the window wise. Conditions apply.
Transform your living room with a luxurious, bespoke feature wall from Sprat Fireplaces, Newmills, Letterkenny. Our complete installations include built-in storage, electric fires, floating shelves, and stunning finishes in stone, porcelain, or marble. Each feature wall is designed and built in-house by our expert carpentry and stone masonry teams. No fuss, just flawless feature walls. Call 074 91 24144 or visit spratfireplaces.ie. Sprat Fireplaces, experts in heating, design, and detail.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals. Call Sheridan Security on 91 26025.
Okay, it is Tuesday the 24th of June, 18 minutes past 10. Time for this week's Community Garda information item, and delighted to welcome into studio Garda Grania Doherty from the Letterkenny Garda Station. Grania, off the back of a really busy weekend personally and for the force, of course. We'll talk about that a little later on, if that's okay, but we'll focus on appeals for now. And a burglary at Goland in Ballybofey.
Yes, Garda are appealing for information in relation to this incident. A burglary had occurred at Goland, Ballybofey between 6 p.m. on Sunday the 15th of June and 6:30 p.m. on Sunday the 22nd of June. This incident was only recently discovered and reported to Garda. A garage at that property was entered via an unlocked roller door. 3 chainsaws were stolen from within, 2 Husqvarna chainsaws and a Tanica chainsaw. So we're just appealing to anybody who might have observed suspicious activity or vehicles in that area between those dates, or should they come across similar type tools for sale on a second-hand basis. We're asking them to alert Garda in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530.
Okay. Now, burglary in Downings.
Yes, this happened at a house in the area of Larganray, Downings, so I believe that's on the Carrygart Road, just on the way into Downings itself. Happened after 4:05 a.m. on the morning of Monday the 23rd of June. So a homeowner discovered a man asleep upstairs in his house. He woke this man. The man became aggressive, but he did leave the property. He took a gear bag belonging to the homeowner as he left the house. So it's believed that entry might have been gained to this house via a downstairs toilet window. We're appealing to anybody who might have been in that area between 3 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. with a dash cam to make that footage available to us. Should anybody have observed a man on foot in that area either in the early hours of Monday morning, we're asking them to contact Garda in Milford on 91 53060.
And whilst it is in the middle of the night, like many places, it was busy enough at that time. There probably were people out and about on the roads. So
or on foot, either going home from a night out
sure.
themselves or taxis in the area. So we're hopeful somebody might have seen this man.
All right, criminal damage now in Dunfanaghy.
Yes, so this happened at a vacant house that's under construction in the area of Dunfanaghy on Wednesday the 18th of June, shortly before 10 p.m. So Garda attended the scene. I believe the fire wasn't long in progress at that stage and they managed to extinguish the fire. So the fire services then attended to ensure that the building was safe. So it hasn't been ruled out that this fire might have been started maliciously. So we're anxious to speak with anybody who may have travelled in that area. Along the N56 in particular with a dash cam between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. on that date, if they could make that footage available to us. If anybody can assist with relevant information, we're asking them to contact Ballyshannon Garda Station on 071 985 8530. And as with all our appeals today, the Garda confidential line can be contacted on 1800 666 111.
Now let's discuss criminal damage in Moville.
Yes, this incident occurred at a car park at the Glen Crow area of Moville on Thursday the 19th of June between 12:15 p.m. and 12:30 p.m. So quite a short time period there. That car was parked up at that location for those 15 minutes. And when the owner of the car returned, they discovered that considerable damage had been caused. The side of the car, the passenger side, had been keyed the whole length of the car. We're appealing to anybody who might have witnessed this incident to get in touch with us. We're also appealing again to anybody who might have had a dash cam. As with all of our appeals, we're always looking for dash cam footage. It's invaluable to us. Should anybody have that, we're asking them to contact Garda in Buncrana on 932 0540.
Yeah, and that's early afternoon. Obviously, sometimes I get a bit confused with PM and AM just after 12, but it was
midday.
Just before lunchtime on Thursday, the 19th of June. Horrible thing to have done to you. It has to be said. Right, okay, Ranafast, criminal damage there.
Yes, and again, this was only recently discovered and reported to Gardaí. So this incident occurred at Colashta Vrija in Ranafast between the 11th and the 15th of June. An outer building or a shed, a storage shed, I believe, at the college was entered between those dates, and damage was caused to glass window panels and interior light switches. We're appealing to anybody who might have observed any type of suspicious activity on the grounds of that college between those dates to contact Garda in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530, and again the Garda confidential line 1800 666 111 is always available.
Now, 2 instances of criminal damage being investigated in Lifford.
Yes, these occurred on the 21st of June, Saturday the 21st. So the first incident involved a driver who was travelling at the Haw, Lifford, that's on the N15, so coming into Lifford from the Castlefin side, at approximately 9:15 p.m, when an oncoming Lexus, a brown coloured Lexus, slowed down. A male, I believe he was standing up out of an open sunroof in that car, and he threw 2 glass bottles at this driver's car, causing considerable damage to the front bumper. The Lexus then travelled onwards again in the direction of Castlefin. Then, a short time later, in around 9:23 p.m. on that same date, a driver was travelling outbound from Lifford on the N14. They were on the Letterkenny Road. They met an oncoming dark coloured Lexus IS 200. And again, a similar type of an incident. A beer bottle was thrown from the passenger side rear window of this Lexus, and it collided with this driver's windscreen, causing it to crack. So we're appealing to anybody who might have travelled on the N14 or the N15, the Castlefin Road into Lifford, or the Letterkenny Road out of it, or in and around Lifford town itself on June 21st between 9 p.m. and 9:30 with a dash cam to make that footage available to Garda. And again, look, if anybody observed either of these 2 incidents occurring, or if they've any relevant information that could assist with our investigation, we're asking them to contact Garda in Letterkenny on 91 67 100.
And of course, you have to be, as it's an ongoing investigation, careful with your terminology. Would it be suspected that they might be linked, or
it hasn't been ruled out that they may be linked? And of course, look,
but there could have been a lot of dot-cutted Lexuses as well. I get you. I do understand that.
I know we're always appealing for dash cam footage and this and that, but that doesn't mean that we're not doing the behind the scenes work. Also, I think sometimes people query, why can't you check footage here and there? That is done as a matter of procedure. Local businesses and houses for.
But listen, I mean, in case it's not obvious, if something happens outside a business or a home, they might have an outdoor security camera, a ring camera. Obviously, the Gardaí go and say, can we have access to your footage? Cars are fleeting. You could be travelling through that area. You could be from Dunlow. How could a guard or the Gardaí canvass you? So obviously, you use platforms like this to say, were you in that area? Do you have it? Because it's in addition to the usual policing processes that you follow, I'm sure. Right, we're getting close now, are we? We are, in fact, to the close of nominations for the Garda Youth Awards. Hopefully there's been a good reaction to this. We do tend to leave things late as well, too, in this county, so always good to give it a mention, Grania.
Yeah, so we've had a few nominations have arrived in the last few days, so I just want to highlight it because the closing date is drawn close now. So yeah, the annual Donegal Garda Youth Awards celebrate outstanding young people between the ages of 13 and 21 from right across the county of Donegal. The process is now open, and we're inviting the public to nominate a young person or young people, a group of young people that they know who are committed to making a difference in their community. So nominations must be received by 12 p.m. on Wednesday, July 2nd to be considered. You can request a nomination form from any Garda station, or you can visit www.garda.ie. You can download it from there. And if you want to check out our Garda Facebook page, the Garda Síochána Donegal page, full details are on there of how to obtain a form and how to submit it.
It's the simplest way, to be honest with you,
of course,
isn't it? It's all there. You know where it's there. It's the Facebook page is there. Right. So just to recap, any young person that is nominated is recognised. And then from that, there is various categories that various individuals will be chosen into, so to speak. And your community can be your home, it can be your neighbours, it could, you know what I mean. It's community's a broad church. So if there's a young person in your life that is doing something, then get your form, nominate them. I don't want to give. Sometimes I think when you give examples, then people might go, well, my young person's not in that category. But if they're making a positive contribution, please get them recognised, because it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It goes on a CV as well. I'd stick it straight in my CV if I was recognised in such an award. So there's lots of benefits and positives to it.
We do get a lot of nominations in every year from youth groups, youth leaders, teachers, and they're all welcomed, of course. Yeah. But parents also, there's nothing to stop you nominating your own young person, so that, do that if you think that they deserve recognition.
For sure. Right. The feedback I've got from the rally weekend is it was hugely successful, notwithstanding the inconvenience and the noise that some people suffer, and I'm not in any way belittling that. But from a policing perspective, overall, people well behaved, people listening to the instructions of Garda, etc. That's the feeling I'm getting. But you were literally on the ground.
I was.
Is that how it went down?
I was. I have sore feet today from all the walking over the weekend. But it was. I found it to be a very positive experience over the weekend, and I was on the beat for a lot of hours over the weekend. So it was very busy. As it always is every year. We'll just give out a few of the stats from the weekend first. So 90 arrests were made across the Donegal division, not just in Letterkenny, but that's right across Donegal, for various types of offences, Thursday to Monday inclusive. 1 arrest was made on Thursday, 17 on Friday, and usually every year the Saturday is that bit busier. So 47 arrests were made on Saturday and 25 arrests on Sunday. 30 of these 90 arrests were made in connection with drug driving offences. So across Donegal over the weekend, there were 51 public order incidents, 12 dangerous driving incidents, 30 drug driving related incidents, and 45 vehicles were seized. And again, look, this is only a snippet or an example of some of the incidents that Garda dealt with over the weekend. Regular policing goes on also behind, it's not just all roads policing related. Yeah. So
but we know the baselines, and I think it just talks to a high level of drink and drug driving, but a high level of detection as well. 30 drink and drug driving related instances. I would not be surprised at all if the majority of those were drug driving. And 45 vehicles were seized. So it's not like people weren't warned. They were we talked about modifications, we talked about tints and the importance of a car being NCT taxed and insured, you know what I mean? But obviously 45 vehicles seized is a big enough old number, isn't it?
That's quite a high number. And we did discuss last week the section 109A of the Road Traffic Act 1961, where the vehicle can be seized if it's being used or suspected that it will be used in a dangerous manner. And then in cases like that, the owner of the car has to apply to the judge of the district court then to get their vehicle back. This happened last year also, and people were then left without their vehicle for the course of the weekend. So quite a few.
Talk to us then a little bit about the policing operation then that happened over the weekend.
Yeah, well, we dealt with, there was numerous incidents, so those outlined also, but we dealt with many types of incidents, as we do on a daily basis anyway, when the rally isn't taking place. So alleged assaults, there were drug searches, drug detections, road traffic collisions, criminal damage incidents, burglaries, thefts, domestic calls and mental health related calls. The rally drew massive crowds into the county, but most especially, as always, Letterkenny was thronged at the weekend. It always draws massive crowds into the town here. An extensive policing operation was in place for the event, but there was a separate operation then in place also for the town itself. So the public order units were out. They were out in patrol every night. Roads policing units were in patrol day and night. They were operating checkpoints, speed checks. Motorcyclists from the roads policing units were out patrolling. And of course then regular uniformed Garda members were out in the beat and on bikes conducting patrols and just responding to regular calls as well as rally related calls. The Garda helicopter, I'm sure everybody's seen it hovering around over the weekend. It was there. And we also had a detector dog with the Revenue Customs Service up over the weekend also, which was of great assistance to us. And we were also very grateful to have the assistance of some of our reserve Garda members over the weekend. We're always grateful for their assistance at major events. We'd just like to say a thank you to everybody who came to Donegal at the weekend and who complied with the law, and that is the vast majority of the visitors that arrived at the weekend. We have to stress that it's only a small cohort of people who come, and they arrive every year and they've no intention of abiding by any sort of rules, and that's a very small minority of the people that arrive. For the most part, we enjoyed engaging with the many visitors to the county, and of course, why not? In the lovely sunshine, the weather couldn't have been better.
You just short sleeves and everything.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a funny one just before I go. It made me myself didn't do my self-esteem any favours. I'll tell you. It's just we did enjoy. Well, I enjoyed engaging with them, and I'm sure the rest of them did too. But I had a group of lads there from Tyrone, and we were having a great old banter, great chat on the street, and I was giving them directions around to different places, and I happened to drop into conversation. This was on the Friday, that my birthday was on the Saturday.
Yes, happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. And of course, one of them then, what age are you tomorrow? And I told him my age. I'll not be saying that on air, but I told him my age. Well, the look of disgust on his face. He says, my mother's only 1 year older than you. That was it. That was the conversation stopped. They took off. They were disgusted at me.
Can I flip that around, though? Can I flip that around? He thought you were so youthful No, listen. All right, he thought you were so youthful, and then when he learned that you potentially were the same age as his mum, he felt like you had catfished him. But in reverse.
Well, I think we were just having such a laugh. We were having such a laugh that then he was so disgusted with himself. I'm having a crack with someone who's practically the same age as my mother, so it didn't do me self-esteem.
But do you know what was nice? I thought what was nice for the whole policing operation was just to chuck in a full house at McCool Park on Sunday.
Oh yeah,
I think that was just a real bonus.
That was great timing, all right, yeah. But I think now it went smooth. You know, it went. A lot of people were aware, of course, in advance, and they left extra time.
But
for
the
their
funny
journey,
thing is what's different, and even yesterday you saw it. I think, and I don't think you can ever have a traffic plan to deal with it or whatever. Is when you get traffic that just wants to go around the town. So in other words, like I think. Like roundabouts and stuff, they don't really necessarily function well when people are just cruising around the place. Do you know what I mean?
Jams them up, they get blocked up fairly quickly. They do, yeah. No, well, look, it was a very positive weekend, and of course, as always, I say it every year, we're looking forward to doing it all again in 2026.
Yes, congratulations to the Garda on their great work this weekend. It was one of the best rallies that I was ever at. It was a lot of stages, and there was a good Garda presence. Very well done, Garda. They took no nonsense. So there you go. But as you say, I was engaging with a few of them as well that were up and about, and they're nice. They're they're even the young ones that aren't necessarily interested in the rally but love their cars. They're nice. The overwhelming majority of them are just nice young people who love their cars.
And just they were very happy to stop when they did see us out in patrol. They'd come over and they'd have a chat and have a laugh with us. And it was great. It was lovely to see.
Okay, and thankfully, no rally-related major instances report either too, which is always what it's all about. All of the policing, all of the stuff we talk about, that's what it's all about. It's keeping people safe, isn't it, Gráinne? I mean, that's what it's all about. All right, thanks so very much indeed. That's Garda Gráinne Doherty, and that was Community Garda information for this Tuesday, the 24th of June. It's back with you live on the 9 till noon show after 10 o'clock next Tuesday. You'll be able to listen back to it on the podcast, of course, from about 12:30, and it'll be on our socials and the Garda Show socials a little later on. And just to remind you, I'll put it on my own social media as well. If you have a young person in your life that you believe deserves recognition, get onto the Garda Síochána Donegal Facebook page and download a form and get them nominated. It's a wonderful thing to do for our wonderful young people.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
At Franklin's, we understand getting the right property valuation matters. If you're selling your home in Donegal, trust the experts who truly know the market. Whether you're upsizing, downsizing, we're here to help every step of the way. At Franklin's, we do things differently. Honest advice, expert guidance, and a name you can trust. Book your valuation today at franklins.ie or call our office on 07491 88 000. Franklin's, putting the value in valuations.
The 5th Letterkenny Blues and Roots Festival takes place from Thursday the 3rd to Sunday the 6th of July. 4 days of great live blues, roots and folk performances, featuring artists from Ireland and around the world. Over 70 gigs in 13 different venues, plus street entertainment on Saturday afternoon. Don't miss the Letterkenny Blues and Roots Festival from the 3rd to the 6th of July.
Hey John, 2 flat whites and a skinny latte, please, to table 14.
John is a brilliant barista, and he has a disability. If you're an employer and want to find out how the wage subsidy scheme can support you financially to employ people with disabilities, visit gov.ie/WSS. Building an inclusive workforce is good for business. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
They say time equals money, so spend your money where you spend your time. No matter what your preference is, Cooney's Home Interiors has something to suit every taste and budget. With our extensive range of home furnishing to fit every room and style, from mattresses and beds to rugs, mirrors and suites of furniture. Visit us in store today and see for yourself what Cooney's have to offer, and let us help you make your dream home a reality. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Huge range, great prices.
Make real summer savings at SuperValue. Like SuperValue Signature Taste Fresh Irish Hampshire Pork Loin, now half price. Fresh fruit and veg like lemon and lime net, 3-piece, 79 cents each. Scan your Real Rewards card or app and get Coca Noodles 10-pack for €5. Also, Pampers and very selected ranges, 3 for €30. Make real summer savings at SuperValue.
At Warehouse Bar and Kitchen, Main Street, Letterkenny, you'll find mouth-watering food and drinks served 7 days a week. Great deals with Tuesday Burger Night, Thursday Steak Night, Fizzy Friday and Weekend Brunch. There's live music every weekend and the perfect spot for your private parties. Follow Warehouse Bar and Kitchen on social media for specials and updates.
All right, welcome back. Good luck to the Irish Deaf Futsal ladies team going into the semi-finals against Brazil at 2:30pm Irish time today after beating England 6-3 on Sunday morning in the quarterfinals in Italy. Two of the girls are from Donegal. Always good to beat England 6-2. Good luck against Brazil. A caller says, good morning, Greg. I think it's scandalous that game is on Saturday. The players must be absolutely exhausted, and it's so disrespectful to the players and the entire Donegal squad who've given us endless entertainment all year. It would have been a better decision to have a double header Sunday, one game at 1:45 and the other at 4, preferably Meath v Galway and Monaghan v Donegal. But it is what it is, and we'll just have to show them all on the field what a great team we are. The GEA afraid of Donegal giving us just a 6-day turnaround. They're hoping it works against us as they can have the teams they want into the semi-final. I think they'd love Donegal in the semi-finals. We're going to get some reaction to it. Eamon McGee's going to be joining us, our own Oisín Kelly, very shortly. But firstly, we'll go to the chair of the Donegal County Board, Mary Coughlin. And Mary, it's one of those, isn't it? I mean, we want to make representations. We want to be fair. But of course, the Donegal naysayers are saying that we're always moaning. Obviously, you know, there was some upset of us having to travel down to Roscommon for that game with Mayo. And now we have this situation. But I suppose if we are feeling that things are working against us, we sort of have to back ourselves, don't we, and say, you know, is it fair?
Well, look at Greg, there's a couple of things now. The first thing is we had a fantastic game at the weekend, and the boys showed and proved what a great team they were, because Louth were Leinster champions coming up to Donegal to face the Ulster champions, a spectacle in itself. And we did very, very well, and there's a lot of teams in this country now who wish they were in our position, that they're going to Croke Park in a quarter-final. We want to play at the highest level within Ulster and within the country and afford our men and our team the opportunity to excel, and that's what we want to do. And that's where we want to be. And I think it's important to be positive. We've had huge capacity crowds. We had over 15,000 in Ballybuffet, very well run, fair play to everybody. I want to take that chance now to thank the guards, to thank McCool Club, our supporters. The Louth people came up, they were very happy with how things were done, and all our volunteers that helped out on that day to make it such a great occasion. But look, at the end of the day, we wrote in, which we're entitled to do, which every club will do if something arises, they want to play on a particular day, and you put your best foot forward and you put up your reasons as to why you want to do this. There's a bigger debate on welfare of players, and that has all been done in the context of the discussions and the work that's going on the amateur status of the GAA. And I think we park that as an overarching discussion that's going to take place during the summer and into special Congress. But look, we made representations on the basis that we thought if they played on Saturday, you might play on Saturday this weekend. If you play on Sunday, you play on Sunday of the weekend. So that's the representations that we made. Look, everybody has something to say. We gathered from a lot of our supporters that they were very concerned about the time frame. And this is not coming from the team. This is not coming from management. This is coming from the county board. And we had a discussion last night about it, and we agreed a statement, and it stands on its own 2 feet. But we're here now to support the lads. We're going to play Monaghan, who are very good in themselves, an excellent team, very tough Ulster team. And we are preparing now to ensure that we put our best foot forward and take the opportunity to ask our supporters to come out on Saturday as best possible to support the team.
And often, you know, fans might focus on whether or not the team might be tired and how that might affect the performance, etc. And now we know they're incredibly fit, don't get me wrong. But also, too, no matter how fit you are, there is a toll, you know, and perhaps maybe the GEA could have considered do you think more the actual welfare of the players, not their ability to perform, but actually the toll playing so many games in such quick succession might actually have on them, their physical well-being, and they had the latitude to sort of give these guys an extra day.
Well, look, that was the argument that we put forward, and we asked it to be considered. And I know that the CCCC had a difficult decision to make. They have given their consideration, and they've indicated the reasons why they weren't in a position to accede to our request. I am heartfelt sure that all the other teams wrote in from their county boards as well, and I'm sure they were all considered. But look, at anything to do with the team, I don't interfere, the county board don't interfere. That is what Jim and his management look after, and all of the backroom team. They support our team, they support our players. They are psychologically at the highest level at this moment in time. They are determined to go forward. They have that ambition, they have that capacity, and they're dogged. And we saw that in Ballybofey, that they were prepared to do what was necessary. We saw it in Roscommon, and I don't interfere with anything that the team does inside, as I'm sure no other county chair does either. Our job is to reflect, I suppose, the supporters' considerations and their views, and that's what we did. And we were of the opinion that we needed to say that in case there was any lack of clarity, that we did request a Sunday, but on this occasion it didn't work.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
And
this
now
is the end of it.
Exactly.
We're moving on. We're concentrating on Dublin, going to Dublin. We're concentrating on playing Monaghan. And, we have the capacity to win, but this will all be down now to Jim, to all of his people that he has around him, and down to our team. So we're there to support them in every way possible that we can. And it has been acknowledged by the team that support has been hugely beneficial to them.
Mary Coughlin, thank you so much for your time. Chair of the Donegal County Board. Oisín Kelly and Eamon McGee join me in 2 minutes.
Is your couch older than your Spotify playlist? Is your dining table wobblier than your uncle at a wedding? If so, it's time for an upgrade at Grove Furnishings, Kiltoy Road, Letterkenny, the largest furniture store in the Northwest. From stylish sofas to elegant beds, from floor covering to occasional pieces, we've got you covered. And we offer free delivery within 80 kilometres. Grove Furnishings. Seriously good furniture.
The 252 Kia offers are heating up at iMotors, and they're electrifying. Drive away with 0% finance on all Kia EVs. And there's more. Get a free home charger and a €500 Super Value gift card when you order by June 30th. Smarter, cleaner, better value. Drive into summer today. Visit iMotors in Letterkenny or Malin.
iMotors. Fearless generation.
Finance is provided by Bank of Ireland and is subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Failure to meet repayments may affect your credit rating.
It's easy to feel trapped when you're dealing with mortgage arrears. The worry, sleepless nights, the impact on you and your family. But there is a way out.
Welcome. Come on in.
At Awalya, our door is always open. We're here to help and ready to listen. Get free confidential support and practical advice to help you take control of the situation by visiting mabs.ie/Awalya. That's mabs.ie/Awalya, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Brian McCormick Sports. New Hoka trainers in-store and online. Try the new Clifton 10, even softer as you take every stride. New range of colours for men and women. Different widths to suit your feet. Bondi 9. New colours for men and women. Take the Hoka challenge and see what fits you best. If you're road running or walking, maximise your comfort and support at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rocket Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. Try their new interactive dartboards with lots of games that all the family can play. See arena7.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenney's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
All right, faring up as the day goes on. Temperatures around about average for this time of year. Right, so listen, very shortly we're going to be looking forward to the game. Ossian and the team will do the usual build-up. We'll be positive. We'll get the flags out. Up, Donegal. But for now, let's have a moan and get it out of our system. Ossian Kelly, WTF?
Listen, have the moan. Where do we start? First of all, our chairperson, Mary Coughlin, is 100% right. We now need to focus what the next task is at hand. Yesterday evening, we could do all the moaning we wanted.
No. We'll stop the moaning after this segment.
Okay, after the segment, right? You want me to moan? I think it is very, very unfair on Donegal on how it has been laid out to them now in the quarterfinals. They've played more games than anybody else, Greg, in a short period of time, which is 11 to 12 weeks. They've played 8 championship matches. It's 11 to 12 weeks. They were the last of the prelim games out on Sunday, and now they find themselves 6 days later playing the first of the quarterfinals at Croke Park. Now, obviously, there is a number of factors. Donegal had requested a Sunday match. They had put their reasonings across why. What I've just said there is perfectly fine as a legitimate reason. Eamon will talk more, I'm sure, on welfare of players because he'll know a lot more of it than what I will. But Brendan Kilcoyne made a point last night. Now, he stands to be corrected on the DL debate that we now have 12 teams in a quarter-final stage, which includes prelims. And he thought that never before has a team who has reached the quarter-final stage been asked to play 6 days later. And that has now changed if it is the case. And it's going to be Donegal. But what's going to happen after this weekend, Greg, is when they do get to Congress, a decision will be made. The teams won't be playing 6 days later. So Donegal is going to be the only team in the quarterfinal series for this to happen.
But what are the deciding factors here? Is it a GEA Go or GEA Plus and RTE divvying up the games, of course?
The television, obviously they have rights to broadcast games and they will have a say in it. There's no doubt the national broadcaster will have a say in it.
A GEA Plus saying we want the games where the teams are furthest away because we'll get more 12 quids.
Well, I'm only speculating here. And again, I'll stand to be corrected, but I am sure that the national broadcaster has had a say on what games they want. Armagh Kerry, no doubt, is the biggest game of the weekend because it's the defending All-Ireland champions against contenders. One of the big boys are going to go at the weekend, so that's one that they want. And they looked at the other matches and probably they felt that, you know what, Galway and Meath is a better suit to us on Sunday. Like on the Saturday, Greg, 3 of the 4 counties involved are all coming the one direction. So they are. They're all coming in from the one side, and it's going to carry huge support. Yeah. And obviously, maybe RT looked at Donegal Monaghan and thought, right, that's not a game that we feel would suit our broadcast. So that is one factor. The CCC have other decisions to make, so they do what they are. I'm not privy to it, but they have made the decision. We have to move on with it. But the general consensus is from everybody that's following Donegal now that this is unfair. But the only way to answer it is to step up to the plate and win a match on Sunday. Yeah. But it's a tall order. It's another huge test on the team, and it's thrown another spanner in the works. And Jim has been very vocal about where games have been scheduled and time frames and different things over the last number of weeks, and rightly so. But they have to get on with it. But it is unfair. There's no doubt about it. It is unfair.
Eamon McGee, former intercounty footballer, still active, of course. Eamon, this was avoidable. That's the thing. You know, like Donegal could have had the last game on Sunday. We might have been having a different conversation then about supporters getting back for work on Monday and so on and so forth. But in terms of player welfare, does 7 days make a big difference to 6? And I suppose your overall opinion on this decision?
Listen, first of all, just chat about the player welfare. I think that, one day the lads will go on, they'll actually do the recovery. The recovery started, minutes after the Loud game, and it was just a process of getting them over to Convoy, getting grub into them, and Sunday there was recovery. So, come Tuesday, come Wednesday, the body should be feeling right. Mentally is another question. And it's about trying to get up that's the challenge for Jim, is trying to help the lads get up for the pitch of things, because the GA calendar is so different now, whether before, and a lot of these players are used to the previous calendar where you had a few weeks to kind of deflate get yourself up again, and then get ready for it. But now you're just have to be consistently at the pitch of things. So that's the challenge, and I think one day, you have to take into consideration the travel on the Friday. Lads are working. It seems a lot of people in Dublin don't know that Donegal is far away. The bus driver for Loud didn't even know where the Donegal was. So the second thing is disrespect. I think it's extremely disrespectful to Donegal GA. And what played into this here, and what took precedence over player welfare, and the Donegal GA was TV, GA Plus, and RTE, and then there's a money aspect, and I think there's also a large aspect to this here, where they're putting the two fingers up to Jim and saying, listen, you be quiet, and I think that's what rankles me a lot, is that you see it most days, Greg, and the fact speaks for itself, but Donegal is neglected, and I think it would be naive to think that attitude doesn't seep into other organisation if that's led from the top. Obviously people in Dublin are going to be thinking the same, and I think that's a play here. And when Jim was firing back after a few games, there's nearly a thing where just be quiet.
Do you believe that, Eamon, that the CCCC and Croke Park are sitting going with one channel of all this and fixing matches going well? We'll sort Donegal out here. Is that something you firmly believe?
100% genuinely believe that. Now, in terms of percentages, it's not the overriding thing, but I think there's an aspect of it like that. I've seen this before in other parts of the J. And I 100% believe that there's a part of.
But you're talking about the top level of the organisation here, so you are.
The top level. The good thing about the J, and maybe it's a bad thing too, is that it's the Ocean Kellys, it's the Ian McGee's. It's the same faults that we have, that the top of the J have, and the same grudges and the same, and I 100%. It'd take a lot for me to. Anybody to convince me that there's not someone up there saying, listen, Donegal need to know their place here, Jim McGuinness needs to know their place there, and that's what I believe.
I'm with Eamon on this, to be honest, because I think some of this is endemic. I think it's built in.
And just on that, Greg, sorry for cutting across. People outside the county are saying whingers and moaners. Who else is going to speak up for Donegal? Because no one. We've seen this over decades of us just go and know your place, Donegal, except you're just below us, you're not on our radar, and when you step up, you're whingers. And I think it's perfectly reasonable by Jim, perfectly reasonable by Mary Coughlan to put in, that letter last night that released that statement and say stand up for themselves, because I, for one, I'm fed up in all aspects of government, of the GA, of different organisations looking down their nose at Donegal, and we need to have a good one. We need to have a moan and push back on this.
You're not as convinced, Ash, but I mean, if you look at it, of all the scenarios, the worst case scenario was dished out to Donegal again.
Yeah.
And as Eamon quite rightly said there, as soon as we try and back ourselves, it's instantly down to Donegal whinging again. But no other county in this entire island has more reason to whinge on different things.
Oh, I get that, and I'm firmly believe standing up for yourself. Firmly believe standing up for yourself. And as I said it, Greg, the way Donegal have been treated in this situation again is very unfair. I thought Hyde Park was very unfair. Now, what was the reason for sending it to Hyde Park? Maybe there's certain officials from that area that were a factor in it. I don't know. And maybe it was, listen, we can't, I find it hard to say, has it been set up in a way to suit Mayo that day? I don't know. But obviously, Eamon firmly believes that it's the GAA against Donegal. You're of the same case. I can question some of that, so I can. And again, I do think this is very, very unfair on Donegal, what they have done. There's factors in it. There definitely is factors in it now, but
listen, Austin, I know that there's factors, there's financial aspects, in terms of attendances, there's the TV thing. The GA are trying to promote GA plus, but Brendan Coyne's actually right. He's 100% right. There's no other team that have come out from the preliminary 6 days later. Why is Donegal, the Donegal that have made all the noise, why is it Donegal suddenly now the first team to be taking on that?
So were we factored in last to all of this scenario because they wanted the big game Armagh.
Donegal Monaghan is a very, don't forget that GA Plus now solely owned by GEA. Yeah. Donegal Monaghan's a very attractive game for them.
Oh, it is, but we're talking about the scheduling of the Sunday here and the Saturday.
Yeah, but there's more €12 in Donegal Monaghan early on a Saturday.
Yeah, but so they from a player welfare point of view, that's what we're talking about. That how much an extra day would mean to Donegal, who actually have to travel further than anybody else. It's not that they get in a bus on a Saturday and they go straight to a ground.
But 7 days not seen. 7 days is seen as the window of recovery, is it not?
7 days is seen as a window of recovery, but the schedule is that grueling. So it is at the minute. Now Donegal have had an extra game too than 4 of the other teams that are in the quarterfinals. Like they've had they've a shorter window, rather, is what I'm trying to say, than Monaghan have had, Greg. But we're talking about the 7 days here, moving away from 6 to 7, and player welfare, and what the factors in the decision was to put Donegal on first. So obviously the big game was going to be on national TV. They picked that, and then the other game was picked. So we looked at the other scenario. Why could we not put those 2 games on the Saturday and move the Saturday games to the Sunday? But Dublin, obviously, I'm sure, had a say in what day they wanted to play. And they love playing on a Saturday. Even they were always going to get that.
But you see, that talks to exactly what Eamon said. If Dublin has a say on when they play, I mean, that says it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to come in here, like, we were kind of laughed at and told to be quiet a few years ago when we put forward a proposal that there was a Super 8s, if Oshie can remember it, that Dublin were to play their neutral game
outside of Croke Park.
Park, and we were laughed at and we were told to cop on, and we were whingers again, and that actually is wrong true. What we said at the time was 100% true. And what we're saying is we're not asking for anything radical. We're asking for fair play, and we're being told to know our place. Like, stop the whinging.
And there's another thing, just finally, on top of this. Yeah, like Donegal are playing 3 All-Ireland Championship games in 3 weeks. Like, that's bonkers, Greg. That's where the scheduling is totally wrong.
All right, Eamon McGee, thanks very much.
The best way to answer all this is 1 on Saturday.
It is, okay. but there comes a point where you can only put it up to the team to prove the GEA wrong on the pitch so many times, I suppose. Yeah. But listen, it's all very interesting. Listen, thanks very much again, Eamon. Take care of yourself. Bye bye. Thanks, Oshie and Kelly, as always, of course, are head of sport here.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
We'll get your views in on that topic and everything else we've been discussing so far today. 086 60 25,000. News headlines time at 11 o'clock. Good morning, Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. A delegation of councillors from the Northwest is meeting with the North's Infrastructure Minister Liz Kimmins in Stormont this afternoon to discuss the latest setback to plans for the upgrade of the A5. The A5N2 committee is chaired by Donegal councillor Paul Canning. He told Greg on today's 9 till noon show they'll have a clearer view of the situation after today's meeting. He says the request for the meeting was made before the court's decision was announced. Garda say it was a very busy weekend within the Donegal division, with the Donegal International Rally taking place. 90 arrests were made across the division over the weekend, 30 of them in connection with drink or drug driving offences, 51 public order incidents and 12 dangerous driving incidents. 45 vehicles in total were seized. Israel's defence minister says he's ordered the country's military to hit back at Iran, claiming that Iran violated a ceasefire deal. Earlier this morning, Israel and Iran claimed to have signed up to a truce proposed by the US President Donald Trump. However, Israel has since reported it detected Iranian missiles heading towards its airspace. An extended working week is being introduced to the health service. An agreement's been reached between the HSE and trade unions, which will see consultants and other staff work weekends. They'll be rostered for 5 days over 7 in a bid to improve the efficiency of care and speed up discharges. Garda responded to a report of a break-in at a house in the area of Larganrea Downings on the Carragart Road in the early hours of yesterday, just after 4:05. A homeowner discovered a man laying upstairs in his home. He woke him and the man became aggressive. He did leave the house, taking a gear bag belonging to the homeowner with him as he left. It's believed entry may have been gained into the house via a downstairs toilet window. And Uisce Éireann is advising motorists of a road closure in KG West Donegal to facilitate works to replace old cast iron water mains. More than 3.6 kilometres of main is being replaced in the area. The road closure will be in place along the R259 from Monday next, June 30th, until Friday, August 8th. Local and emergency access will, they say, be maintained. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much, Donald. Back after the break.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Donegal Vintage Club will hold a tractor, vintage and car classic run this Sunday 29th in Ramelton. €20 per tractor or car, with registration at 12 noon at the quay, followed by refreshments and live music with Paul McCahill. Proceeds in aid of Care of the Aged, the RNLI and local charities. This ad is sponsored by Wirraske's Eurospar and Ice Cream Parlour Ramelton.
The Irish Government is now covering the cost of HRT products and dispensing fees for all stages of menopause. There is no age-based eligibility for this, but you must have a prescription and be registered with the HSE Drugs Payment Scheme. For more information, see gov.ie/HRT or talk to your GP. A message from the Government of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply. GP visit cost not included. Available at participating pharmacies.
New store, new project. Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up, fresh colour for your walls, or a new kitchen? Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
It's extremely big. It's extremely scary. And it's extremely good fun. Extreme Fun Fair, the most extreme fun fair to ever visit Letterkenny. From June the 28th to July the 13th at the Kiltoy Roundabout. See Facebook, Instagram or book now at extremefunfair.ie.
Ready for sunshine? Fly EasyJet from Belfast International Airport to a range of holiday destinations including Tenerife, Amsterdam, the Algarve, Barcelona and many more, which you can find in Belfast International Airport's summer schedule. Don't miss out, book today with EasyJet. Find your destination inspiration.
Would you like to experience the magic of Riverdance 30, the new generation? Come along with Highland Radio on Thursday, August the 28th for an unforgettable trip to Dublin's Gaiety Theatre. Enjoy luxury coach travel, a night stay at the 4-star Grand Canal Hotel, and premium seats to the iconic show. Spaces are limited, so secure your spot today. Call us now on 074 91 25000 or visit the outlet at highlandradio.com.
Dad, how does Mommy know a superhero called Quiva?
Quiva? Aviva. Mammy got new home insurance from the superheroes at Aviva.
Why are they superheroes at Aviva?
Because they helped her save 20%.
For 20% off home insurance when you buy online, it takes Aviva. Offer available when you take out a new policy online. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Offer subject to minimum premium of €230 for home insurance, €115 for contents or buildings only. Home insurance is underwritten by Aviva Insurance Ireland DAC. Aviva Direct Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now, as you know, we've discussed active travel plans for Letterkenny for quite some time now, and I think we have heard certainly from businesses up the Glencoe Road particularly. We've heard from a lot of residents who believe they're just not the right plans at this time. And we're going to get another sense of what the business community think through Giles McGee, owner of Charlie's Cafe in Letterkenny. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, Giles.
Morning, Greg. Morning to all your listeners.
Right, and your warning is a stark one in relation to the impact of the active travel plans around Letterkenny. So I'll just hand it over to you. What's your assessment of it all?
My assessment, Greg, of the active travel plans, people may tend to think that I have a negative attitude towards this plan. I don't. I have a very negative attitude towards it in the relationship to the lack of proper traffic management in Letterkenny. Letterkenny on a daily basis suffers terribly with the influx of traffic into and out of the town and through the town on their way towards other parts of the country and other parts of the county. And the narrowing of these major routes into the road, into town and through the other side of town to accommodate foot traffic and cycle lanes is only going to prove to be a nail in the coffin to an awful lot of businesses in Letterkenny, Greg, because if customers can't make their way into Letterkenny comfortably or travel through Letterkenny comfortably, there's only going to be one outcome, and that, as far as I can see, is going to be business closure.
Like your business is directly affected by worsening traffic, because it would be lovely to think that half of the cars would be people walking then, or cycling or scooting. But we know that's probably not likely to be the case. People like to use their cars. So say, for instance, when the town's really busy like it was at the weekend, lots of people are around, the default opinion from someone outside of business would have been that you must have been rushed off your feet, Giles.
No, the opposite. We had the complete opposite effect, Greg. The fact that the town was very, very busy, and I must commend the Garda, who did a fantastic job over the weekend, by the way. The effect is that when your customer can't get comfortably to your business premises and get back out again in a reasonable time frame, then they're not going to travel into town. And they talk about an active travel plan where the council seem to want people to jump onto their bikes or get onto footpaths and walk all around Letterkenny. Well, that's really a non-starter, because Letterkenny is very spread out. And I mean, if you're living on the Melton Road, you're not going to walk into Letterkenny. You're not going to use the cycle paths into Letterkenny to bring yourself into town and go back out again. It's very hilly. It's not like Galway and maybe Sligo or other towns like that, where it's a lot more condensed. Like Letterkenny has massive offering for the wider northwest region, and we do, as business people, we do a fantastic job of providing basically everything that the people of Letterkenny and Donegal and the wider community need. But again, when you've got thousands and thousands of cars that have to go through Letterkenny to go on their way either to Derry or Sligo or Dublin, I mean, in lieu of a business plan for, I suppose I'm trying to say, Greg, we need a bridge over Letterkenny. We need the traffic that diverted that goes through Letterkenny away from the town, so that then will have a knock-on effect where the traffic that really has to go into town can get into town, can get back out. You'll have a traffic jam now on a Tuesday morning for no reason other than the town just can't take any more cars.
Your business is
reason. Sorry, Greg.
No. I'm sorry, Charles. Giles, I didn't mean. What I was going to ask you is, the business has been there for 41 years, which is a remarkable achievement. But that's off the back of it being run well and quality food. You've been in charge there for 14 years. In terms of threats to the business, COVID, recessions, and all that, where does these active travel plans stand in terms of a threat when you compare it to everything else? To the businesses survive? It's going well at the moment, of course. You're sort of preempting where things might be.
My thoughts and my feelings on where my own business is going to end up is probably very negative. And I don't want to use the words that I used to other people, particularly not live on radio, but it would be detrimental, Greg. Like Donegal County Council and all of our councillors took a vote to vote in this active travel plan, which could be fantastic for Letterkenny. But it can only be fantastic for Letterkenny if the traffic that doesn't need to be in town can be removed. This is very much a cart before the horse situation. And the council are only spending money on this active travel plan specifically because the money's there. They've been granted money for it. You can watch the video online that was taken in the council chamber where they're talking about we have to spend this money and get people out of their cars. That's not going to happen in Letterkenny. I would like to see some of the other towns that have had this active travel plan thrust upon them to see how well their business is coping with it. I think Donegal County Council should be shown a degree of of bravery when, they turn this plan down and say, look, Letterkenny is not capable of handling this plan right now. And if you take the Melton Road on any Friday or Saturday or any bank holiday Monday, you're going to be sitting there for hours. So consider this now. You're coming from Downings or Melton on a bank holiday Monday, and you're going from 2 lanes down into 1 lane across the front of the Donegal to allow for active travel. I don't see where all of these people are going to be travelling on their bicycles or on footpaths, and how it's going to have a positive impact on the town. It can't have a positive impact on an already overchoked town. So, as far as I can see,
we can't at the moment, and I'm really reflecting what people have said to me, but we can't at the moment get scooters off the footpath onto the road at the moment. Like, that's beyond us at the moment. There's scooters going around every single footpath in the town, up and down the main street on the wrong side in some instances. So we can't even get the relatively small amount of people now to conform with the laws that are there. Like, this idea that people are going to push cycle up past the hospital, up Glencar, up that massive hill or anywhere else is... Like, it feels a little bit fanciful. Who are these people that are going to hop on their scooters and their bikes and their feet to go and get fish and chips in Charlie's and then, head out the Melton Road to eat them? I mean, like, I can't, like, I'm trying to be objective, but I'm trying to find out also who these people are. Where are they?
I don't know who they are, Greg. I don't know. I mean, I live just outside the town out in Manor, and I use the 4 lane every day coming in and every day going out home. No cyclists are using the so-called cycle lanes. I've
seen less than 5, and I'm just being completely honest. I can only go with the evidence of my eyeballs. And
100%. I would like to see where the decision was made by Donegal County Council, whereby they thought that this was actually a really good idea and this was going to promote Letterkenny as a town to walk around or cycle around. That's not going to happen, Greg. Unfortunately for Letterkenny, it was built, we're built in a hollow. We've got hills all around. It's not an area where, the ordinary person is, as you've said, going to cycle down the Melton Road or going to cycle down from Highland Radio to get a fish and chips and Charlie's and then cycle back up again. It just doesn't happen. But I mean, what could happen is, unfortunately for us, we have to use cars around here. But like I've said already, if the traffic that does not need to be in Letterkenny, i.e. the traffic that's coming from Fanad or from Remelton or any of those places that has to go to Derry or any of those other places outside that have to go through Letterkenny, if they didn't have to go through Letterkenny, then it would free up the town for everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, cart before the horse is a phrase that's used often. Was it a rush of blood to the head when you said the councillors that voted in favour of the active travel plan might not be as welcome as others into your business? Do you stand by that? Or
I do stand by it, Greg. It's one of those things whereby I think too many things in Letterkenny have been thrust upon the people that live and work in Letterkenny by council, by government. I mean, the whole flavour of the shows this morning has been how Donegal as a whole is so completely disadvantaged. Letterkenny completely is totally disadvantaged. I mean, they've been talking about a bridge over the River Swilly for probably 25 years.
Yeah, but in certain cases, we often blame Dublin, Giles. In this case, where Donegal's arguably shooting Letterkenny in the foot. Can we blame Dublin for this one? No, we can't. This is an internal decision.
We can't, Greg. This is an internal decision. This was a decision made by Donegal County Council to actually apply to government for funding for this active travel plan. So, I mean, Donegal County Council are actively doing their damnedest to shut this town down.
Okay. Have you any feelings on people from outside Letterkenny voting on this? Obviously this got over the line because local councillors were able to sort of get their party colleagues behind them where applicable. Do you have any issue with the fact that the majority of people who made this decision aren't actually living and working in Letterkenny?
I think the councillors that took the vote on this, for want of a better way of putting it, Greg, I think particularly those that are outside of the town, I think the council as a whole want to be able to pat themselves on the back and say, this is a great thing. Look what we've provided now for Letterkenny. Excuse me. We've widened roads, we've We've got nice new footpaths. We've got lovely cycle lanes and so on and so forth. But what they're actually doing is they're not coming into Letterkenny and sitting down with me here at Charlie's and watching the traffic that's stuck, that can't go anywhere on a Tuesday morning for no reason other than there's too much traffic here. I think if they were living and working in Letterkenny, like, you know, you'll see the thousands of cars that come down past Highland Radio every morning on their way to work. You could be stuck in traffic for an hour. That's every approach road into and out of Letterkenny. And the majority of the vote that was made, and Sean or Greg, you'll have these numbers. It was a 20 councillors voted in favour and 13 voted against. You've had, and I'm not party politically affiliated, but you've had Kieran Brogan on discussing the fact that they tried to turn this around and have the active travel plan stopped for the time being until an alternative can be arranged. That there was another vote taken, and that vote was put through again, and also again predominantly by councillors from outside of Letterkenny that don't live and work in Letterkenny, that don't understand the difficulties we face on a daily basis when we're trying to promote Letterkenny, we're trying to sell our wares, we're trying to keep people in jobs. You know, I don't see how many of our councillors are directly responsible for 10 or 12 or 15 people's wages on a Friday evening. You know, I employ 10 people here, and Charlie's is 41 years old this year, started in 1984 by my parents. And we've been here for a long, long time. We're probably one of the longest serving businesses on the Pierce Road. And, you know, all the different measures that have been taking place, some of them for the good, some of them for the better. This one in particular is going to be for the worst. And the fact that it was taken by a majority of councillors from outside of Letterkenny, I just think it's absolutely deplorable.
Okay, listen, thanks for that, Giles. Hopefully things continue to be as successful as they are right now. But, you know, we talk about headwinds. We don't need to be sort of purposely steering the boat into the headwinds at times, but sometimes it can feel like that. Giles, thank you. That is Giles McGee, owner of Charlie's Cafe in Letterkenny. George, you're a resident, I think, at the Ramelton Road. So, you know, for someone who's right in the outskirts of town, do you think twice about coming into town, or what's your life like out on the Ramelton Road?
That's fine. I don't mind that. You live with that. But I just want to congratulate Mr. McGee there, young McGee, because he's correct in everything he said. But everything he said is 100%. Now, if you go out, they're trying now to talk about this new road going from Tommy Keys Garage across to Bunagee. That's a waste of time, because if you go out there, drive out to the Tassie on a busy weekend, and now it's got actually worse, most of the cars are either English or Northern Ireland. They don't want to come in as far as Tommy Keys' garage to turn off. They want to turn off around the Tassie area and head over then onto the main Derry Letterkenny Road, and then they can choose then whether to go to Derry or Belfast or wherever. But bringing them into as far as Tommy Keys, it's going to make no difference. It's not going to help the situation. Definitely not.
Yeah, so you see, that's it. We have this situation.
We used to have.
Yep, we've got more traffic. We've got more traffic that doesn't want to go to Letterkenny, which is stopping the traffic that does want to go to Letterkenny going into it, which is an ironic
100%.
situation.
Yeah, and they're thinking about a bridge from Tommy Keys across to Bunagee, and that'll relieve and get the traffic doesn't want to come onto Letterkenny out. That's too close. It's coming in too close. It needs to be way out around the Suburb Tassie area, crossing over there. That leaves then all the people that don't want to come to Letterkenny, they can go freely away from there. And likewise, coming in and going to Downers and these other areas, they don't have to come into Letterkenny, so that frees up your Port Road a bit. Now, I'm out here like over 40 years, and I always noticed that bank holiday Mondays and Sunday evenings in the summertime are always very busy. But now it's every weekend and every night virtually. It doesn't matter if it's bank holiday now or not. The traffic's back to, past where I live, like right out to the golf links. And it's just unreal. And that bridge isn't going to help. So right. He's got it right. He's perfectly right, like what he's talking about.
George,
and the
thanks.
bikes, like that's. Yeah. I'm all for biking, but there's too many hills, too many ups and downs, like, you know.
See, we're not. You see, the reason like Holland has such a high population of people cycling, it's as flat as a pancake. Yeah. All right, George. Thanks for that. Take care of yourself. Lovely to chat to you.
Everyone in Ireland felt the impact of the pandemic, but each experience was different. Now, Ireland's independent COVID-19 evaluation wants to hear your story. Complete the survey to help us learn lessons and prepare for future events. Visit covid19evaluation.ie.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all. You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800 370 000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
If you have a special occasion coming up, Watson Menswear stock a great selection of men's and boys' formal and casual wear. Top casual brands include Mishmash, French Connection, Tommy Bow and Penguin. Formal wear names include Rimazumo, Sixth Sense and White Label, with a special suit deal of a 3-piece suit, shirt, tie and shoes, all for only €299. Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and at watsonmenswear.com.
The Dacia Sandero is a car with everything you really need done right, at a cost that's done right too. It's no wonder the Irish Times says the Dacia Sandero represents excellent value for money and has styling that looks understatedly smart. Dacia Sandero, starting from an incredible €18,340 with low-cost finance options available at your local dealer. Price excludes delivery and related charges. T's and C's apply, subject to lending criteria. Offers are limited. See dacia.ie.
At Uisce Éireann, we're continuing to upgrade Ireland's water network to ensure a clean, safe and reliable water supply. When repair and maintenance work is required in your area, we want to make sure homes and businesses are informed. That's why we have a new free text alert service providing real-time updates for issues lasting more than 4 hours. Sign up with your mobile number and air code at water.ie. Uisce Éireann, delivering water services for Ireland.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
It's 11:23. Now, the Department of Education has proposed a circular, a policy change effectively, that could significantly reduce access to special schools for children with mild to moderate general learning disabilities. The circular favours placement in mainstream schools with special classes, even when those settings are not appropriate. That's one view of what is being proposed. We have a number of guests to discuss this, 2 in studio. But first, I want to go to Sinead McGurk, who has a very strong interest in this, of course. Sinead, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it.
Hi, Greg.
Right, now, you're calling on people to protect our children's right to special school education. Say no to Circular 0039-2025. So, as far as you see, what is proposed and how might this impact you and other parents and children, of course?
Okay, the circular itself is basically, as you've said, removing a lot of children from special needs schools and putting them into specialist classes within mainstream. I am most definitely a parent and advocate for the inclusion of education. I have 2 children with special needs. One goes to a mainstream school with an autism class, and I have another child that goes to a special school. Both have autism and both have learning disabilities. My decision was taken into consideration on which school they should go to. There's a massive fight to get your child into a special class or a special needs school. You first of all have to go through the formal diagnosis process. You need to get a professional recommendation from the psychologist saying what school they should go to and what needs they have and how they should be met. And now the circular is bringing in an additional part of bureaucracy and asking us to then obtain from the National Council of Special Education Needs a letter saying that they meet the eligibility criteria and that they're allowed a place in the class or the school. So this is one point that massively impacts upon every single family with a child with any sort of learning disability or some additional need. At present, the backlog in Letterkenny, it's taking about 18 to 30 months plus for any child that has been flagged up as having some sort of additional need to be assessed and processed. So you're talking about 2 years before any child that has started to show any signs before they will firstly get to see a psychologist, get a diagnosis, and then start this process of going through this bureaucratic system of then meeting the tick box exercise of the National Council for Special Education Needs to say, yes, you should have a place in a specialist school, or yes, you should have it in a special class within the mainstream school. Now, this is a tick box exercise, so these children have to fit into specific boxes. Need to have a learning disability, or need to have autism, or so these little classified boxes that they need to fit into. If you're outside of those boxes, and many of our children have complex needs, then they will automatically be referred into the mainstream school. And they have no way of having necessary supports and services available to them to make that a viable option and to meet their educational needs. There's also forced placement. So they're going to, if your child fits into this little box, your child will be forced into the special class or the special needs school or into mainstream school. This removes, because it's a tick box exercise by the NSCE, the National Curriculum for Special Education, Council for Special Education, they will dictate where the child will go. At present, a parent has the right, with the Epsom Act, we have the right to have a say and decide which school we want our child to go to and which is the best to suit their needs with the assistance of the professionals. This tick box exercise will now state that doesn't matter what the professionals say, doesn't matter what it says on the paper that you have stating what your child's needs are from the school, from the educators that teach them at present, from any other services they have. It has to be the National Council for Special Education Needs have to give this approval.
And you're of the view, as many are, that rather than going down this route, the Department of Education should in fact be, making sure to preserve the special schools that are there for children with MGLD, but actually expand them as well, expand access, because it seems that part of this plan is because the Department of Education do anticipate an increase in numbers of children requiring, these types of services, and that seems to be one of the main driving factors. They frame it as inclusion, but it's actually just to accommodate them somewhere. In other words, there'll be a place for everyone, but it's not the right place for everyone necessarily.
Okay. This is a rushed bureaucratic shortcut that prioritises the appearance of their progressing to get people places, but actually cuts out the children with complex profiles and basically does nothing for their needs. So if you have autism, brilliant, you've got a place. If you've got mild learning disability, great, this is where you're going. But what about everybody that falls through those cracks? People with behavioural issues, children that have oppositional defiance disorder. I mean, there's so many different children that go to our specialist schools, that our special schools have so much experience, a wealth of knowledge. They have on-tap experts that they can tap into to help our children to be able to allow them to have an education, not just tailored to the curriculum, but either narrow down into specialist curriculum form, or if it suits better, down to a social, practical life experience for them so that they will be able to live a future. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to reduce our special needs schools and send them out into localised areas just for inclusion. Mm-hmm. This is going to cause exclusion. A child like my son going into a mainstream school with an autism class, my son was in one of those, but he had to go into a specialist school, and that was because the school was not able to meet his needs. He was being socially excluded because he wasn't being able to participate in the classes. So he's being left in the autism class. He wasn't able to interact with his peers properly, so therefore he's been excluded by his peers. He was having a terrible, basically his inclusion was excluding him from normal school life. Now in a special needs school where he is up in St Bernadette's, my child has had an amazing life interacting with children with all different disabilities, all different challenges and complex needs, that he has been able to experience life rather than just being stuck in a mainstream school and overwhelmed. He's been put into a school where there's comfort care and he can see real life experiences of other people and other peers.
All right, stay where you are, Gillian. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Stay where you are, Sinead. Gillian McCrabb is chair of the Parents Association of St Bernadette's Special School, Letterkenny, and I also have with me John Harron, principal of St. Bernard's Special School in Letterkenny. I'll start with you, Gillian. You are also you're on the Parents Association, obviously, because you have a child also attending St. Bernadette's. You know, on the face of it, and maybe for those who aren't directly affected by this, inclusion sounds good, doesn't it? Everyone's treated the same, everyone gets equal opportunity. But I mean, obviously, very quickly, and we heard very clearly there from Sinead, you know, you can see the holes in that argument very, very quickly. What's your attitude to this?
To me, in theory, it sounds fantastic, but in practice, it isn't. It doesn't work. Maddie was diagnosed at 3, and we were told that she had a rare genetic syndrome and that she wouldn't learn, she wouldn't read, and she wouldn't write. So we automatically assumed she would go to a special needs school. When we actually went and visited all the special needs schools we could. When she had her clinical assessment, they deemed her to have a mild learning difficulty, so she was therefore sent to a mainstream school. Now, in the mainstream school, I cannot fault them. They tried. But Maddie, there was just something that didn't work. Maddie cried every day going to school. She cried every day coming home from school. She wasn't excelling. She wasn't happy. And when we originally enrolled her, I actually spoke to the principal of the school and told them that Maddie would stay in mainstream as long as she was thriving. When she had to cope, we would leave. Now, they did tell us when Maddie was diagnosed that she wouldn't be academic. She wouldn't read, she wouldn't write. She's now in St. Bernadette's 2.5 years, and she's reading on par with her peers. She's writing on par with her peers. She is happy. She gets up every morning. She gets dressed. She goes to school. She now complains when she doesn't have school because she's in where she should be. And that's, as much as I would love active inclusion, I would have loved her to stay at the school where her brothers and sisters went. It just wasn't right, and it's not right for every student to remain in mainstream.
No, and you can see it in action. This is evidence based. You've seen how Maddie did in a mainstream school, a good mainstream school with as much as can be done for her, versus how she has come on and caught up with her peers in St. Bernadette. So, you know, you have the evidence that because you don't have to see what it might be like if she now goes into a mainstream school. You've seen this. You've seen it. And I would imagine a lot of parents, perhaps their story is similar to yours. They've seen the mainstream situation, and then they've seen what changes in a special school.
Yeah. Well, we have 39 members of the Parents Association, and of that 39, 37 of those students that are there had been mainstreamed before they went to St. Bernadette's. And of those 37 people that have tried mainstream, they will not blame mainstream. They're not saying it's not the school's fault, but sometimes our kids just need that little bit extra, and that little bit extra is what they get when they're in St. Bernadette's. We levelled the playing field for them.
Is there no scenario with investment, better resources, that the mainstream model can work for like, in other words, is there no middle ground here? Is that if the government, the Department of Education, actually got this right, maybe you could have the benefits of a special school from an educational purpose, and then maybe have the benefits of a mainstream school for the inclusion element of it, as an example.
From what I saw with Maddie, the inclusion was fine when she was younger, but as she grew, the isolation from her peers became different. You know, sports days, she wasn't able to keep up. So people didn't want her on the team, you know, that type of way. That social gap got bigger and bigger as she grew. The educational gap got bigger and bigger as she grew. She was being removed from the classroom for her education, whereas in St. Bernadette's, she's educated in her classroom with her friends.
And I suppose too, you know, what happens between 6 and 10 or 8 and 14
is very different.
But then it affects you 18 plus, doesn't it really? Because when she leaves school, the more equal she is to people of her age, the better her prospects are for life, and
the more confident she is in herself.
Exactly. You've said it perfectly there. John Harron is the principal of St. Bernadette's Special School in Letterkenny. I mean, you know, John, yous are the people. You know, be it Gillian or Sinead, and be it you as the head of Bernadette's Special School. Who knows more than you guys? What's your take on this this circular?
Thanks, Greg, for having us in today.
we're very worried, Greg. You know, the staff are very worried, the board of management are very worried, and the parents are very worried, and probably our pupils are very worried too about the future. There's a lot of uncertainty. This circular, people can read it if they want. It's 15 pages long. If you want to read a Department of Education circular, it's 39.25. But there's a small piece, Greg, on page 13, which, you know, I've been liaising with other special school principals now since I've been principal for 5 years, but a lot of them have been principals for 10, 15 years, and they've been waiting on this. It's been going in the background a long time about the redesignation of special schools, and specifically, Greg, the redesignation of mild special schools. So St Bernard's is a school for children with a mild general learning disability. There's 131 special schools in the country, Greg. There's 30 mild schools, so we're very, very niche in what we do. We take children with an IQ score between 50 and 69. So when the child is in school, like Maddie, in a mainstream school, and the gap begins to widen, the parents are called in for a meeting with the teachers. You know, next thing, an educational psychologist carries out a full assessment on the child, and you know, it comes down to scores, Greg, unfortunately. But if the child scores between 50 and 69, there means they have a mild general learning disability. And in many ways, Greg, there's nothing mild about it, but that's the name it's on it. So those children can come to St Bernard's. That's the children we cater for. The school is over 40 years old.
My concern with this, and maybe this will feed into what you're about to say, John, is the Department of Education is seen to come with a plan, but they haven't actually figured out how that plan works. So they want more children from special schools in mainstream schools, but they're still working on the transition, how that would work, who would qualify. Yeah. It seems to be so that they can say everyone has a place in September or something along those lines.
Something along those lines, Greg. And maybe you know, this is a more of a acute problem down the country where we see where children don't have places, and we've seen it in Donegal recently. Where the department is under pressure, but what they're trying to do here is move our children out from a school where they're thriving, move them into mainstream, which opens up places for children with complex needs. This is what they're talking about, a catch-all special school, and a catch-all special school in the department's eyes is pushing the mild children out and then bringing in children with complex needs, and we don't know what children with complex needs are. You know, there's a spectrum, Greg, of needs out there, but there also is a spectrum of provision, you know, and the children like Gillian's daughter and Sinead's son, you know, they're in the mild range. They're in their spectrum of needs, and we cater for them, and we cater for them so well. Like, Greg, in the last 7 or 8 years, St Bernard's has probably doubled in its size. Next September, we're going to have 125 students from all over Donegal. So, you know, what we are doing, we're doing well, and the parents can see that, and they're sending their children to us in droves, and we're delighted with that because it's great. You know, it's great for the school. It's great that we must be doing something right.
How many of those, is it easy to quantify how many of your students originated in the mainstream school system?
I would say 95%, Greg.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So what that demonstrates is that these children weren't doing as well as they could in the mainstream setup, which they're trying to move us towards, and have thrived in St Bernardette's, and we're looking to undo that effectively.
They're looking to undo that, Greg. You know, it's really, really worrying. They're looking to undo that. They're looking to move our children out. So the children that are in the school at the moment will be okay. They won't have to leave. But in fairness to Gillian and Sinead and the other parents that are you know, they're worried about the children that are out there that could come to St Bernard's and won't be given that opportunity because the NCSE and the Department of Education don't want them. Won't give them that chance. We'll say you can go to a mainstream school, and that frees up places for children with complex needs, and we don't know what that is.
All right, stay there. I do have to take a break, but I don't want to end on this. Gillian, just before I let you go, any last word? No, sorry, not Gillian. You're staying there. Sorry, Gillian. Sinead McGurk. I beg your pardon, Gillian. I'm going to hear more from you. But Gillian, you've been listening there to Sinead and John. Just last word for this segment from you.
We're just really worried, Greg, and we hope that, you know, the local politicians, I know Gillian and the Parents Association, we've emailed them all, and in fairness, a lot of them have got back to us, but, you know, they really need to stand up and fight for us.
I'm sorry, John, I'm all over the place. Sinead, sorry, it's you I wanted the last word from. I beg your pardon. Sinead?
Basically, for me, one of the massive things is that the government and departments are trying to remove the soft barrier that is in place for the likes of the children who need that additional assistance but don't qualify as, you know, a specific condition that's on this list that they're going to approve them to attend a special school or to have this extra support and services that are attached to a special needs school. And the removal of this barrier removes other professionals, psychologists, school professionals, occupational therapists, speech therapists. Everybody has access with our children. It removes their professional experience from saying, look, your child is best situated in a special needs school. They don't meet the criteria, but look, here is a process that we can, apply to the likes of St Bernadette's and get them in. This is going to stop that. So no longer will those children that have complex needs that don't match a tick box.
All right, the line's gone a little bit on us. Sinead, listen, thank you very much for making your points as clearly as you did. I'll have more from Gillian, John and Patrick will be joining us, but I must take this short break. Stay where you are.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for Mica affected customers. Don't forget to ask about our 5-day bathroom fit out. Call Milford Tiles on 083 091 0707.
Organ donation saves and transforms lives. A change in Irish law means that if you are an adult, you will now be considered an organ donor when you die. The choice to become an organ donor is yours, but it's important that your loved ones know your wishes. A register is available for those who would like to opt out of organ donation. Visit hse.ie/organ donation or call HSE Live on 1800 700 700 to find out more. From the HSE.
If you've got a smart meter, you should get an Electric Ireland smart meter plan too. Why? Because you can see a breakdown of your energy usage like never before. From heating, cooking, lighting and more. Now you can find out how much electricity you use by hour, day and type of appliance, making your usage clearer and your world brighter. Sign up to a smart meter plan at electricireland.ie. Smart meter required, T's and C's apply.
Soak up the sun this summer at Home Store and more. From stylish garden furniture to sizzling barbecues, twinkling solar lights and colourful garden decor. Stylish parasols and spacious gazebos, all your sunny day heroes. A welcoming smile as you walk through the door. More choice and more savings we're famous for. Drop by your local Home Store and more, or shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
We're serving up summer at Dunnes Stores with a refreshing range of ice pops and cones, any two for €5. Keep cool with strawberry and lemon ice bars or caramel cones topped with sticky caramel sauce. Craving a treat? Try mini Viennese vanilla ice cream coated in milk chocolate, or tropical ice pops with vanilla ice cream and mango and passion fruit puree. Plus, you can save at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Patrick has a son who attends St Bernadette's Special School. Good morning, Patrick. Thanks for joining the conversation.
Good morning, Sean. Thanks for having me. Or Greg,
it's okay. Don't worry about that, Patrick. Okay, so what's your family situation and why does this news trouble you?
My family situation is, like you said, I have a son that attends the school. Wee bit of background on him. He originally started a mainstream primary school in Letterkenny. I'll not say the name of it, but when he started at a normal age, but we didn't really notice any issues with him at the start because it was such a young age. But as he progressed and got older, it started to become a bit more evident that he was having learning difficulties. So the school assigned him with an SMA. He didn't really improve very much, to be honest, with the SMA help either. So they told us that he would have to switch schools altogether because they couldn't read his educational needs. So we done that, but before we done it, we tried to get him as much help as we possibly could, doing other wee classes like helping him with his maths and English and different things, but really none of that was working, and we had to change schools to another school in Letterkenny that had what was it called, a speech and language unit. Now, this other school also has an autism unit as well within it, but my son went to the speech and language unit. Now, when he changed schools, all his friends that he made in his previous schools, he lost, bar one, and he kind of kept in contact with that particular student as well, you know. Now, when he went to the new school, he obviously made more friends there, but the criteria for it is you can only stay a maximum of 2 years within that speech and language unit. And then when that's finished, he was back in the mainstream again within the same school. So all the friends he made over the course of the 2 years within the speech and language unit, he lost. So then he went to the other school, his next mainstream class, made friends there, and ended up losing them too as well when they had to change again.
And tough
Now,
little things too, where he's spotting that he's the only one with an S&A in a certain school, and then there was this situation where he was on different books to the rest of his classmates. It's really, really tough to because young ones think a lot, and they often think when they're in bed, and it's a tough old thing for him to be dealing with in his young wee mind. You know, and at the same time trying to do the best for himself and please his parents. It's a lot on him.
As he was under a lot of pressure, being honest, like, you know, at that age, he doesn't have, you know, the intellectual ability that an adult would have to be able to express himself the way he would like, and the way he would put his points across, you know, would be different, and it can be very confusing. But as he was getting older, when he was sitting in mainstream class, his books were covered. He was fourth class, and his books were covered because he was doing the equivalent of what students in second class would be doing.
It makes me very
sad. He was watching SNA every day.
Can I ask Patrick, just because we've a lot to get through just before the end of the show, and I don't mean in any way disrespectful, I just want to know how his life changed then when you managed to get him into St. Bernadette's, and how the whole family's life changed, I suppose.
The whole situation when he moved to St. Bernadette's, it was like a light switch, like pressing the button and turning it on. His life and our life as parents completely changed overnight. He went to school a lot more happier, and he always referred to St. Bernadette's as the easy school because he was never under any pressure. He was in with students that were at the same learning ability as he was. He didn't feel any different. He didn't feel that he had to prove himself to people. He was on a level playing field. And every day he went to school, he loved it, and he came back happy every day, telling us how much he enjoyed school and how good the teachers and all the S&As were up there. And as a parent, all you want is your kid to be happy, and that school certainly done that for
Patrick, thank you so much for letting us know your situation. John Harn, principal of St. Bernadette's Special School. You know, sometimes we sort of get on a cause, and maybe if it's one individual school and spaces within that school, and you can put pressure on the Department of Education and the Minister for Education, and you can get some success in that regard. This is sort of like a massive policy here, and it's going to be a tough nut to crack. So obviously you're doing fantastic work in advocating. Where are the unions on this? You know, opposition politicians, it's going to require that level of involvement, I think, for this to be reviewed, if you know what I mean, because it seems that the Department of Education are very stuck into this.
Oh, they are, Greg, absolutely. And, you know, there has been questions asked in the draw in this last couple of weeks, and, you know, a lot of the principals around the country and the parents' associations are rolling behind it because we feel very strongly about it. But it is going to take a big push to try and get it stalled for the time being, Greg. I think they need to stall it and need to review it because they haven't thought it through. Like, it's a 15-page document and we're only a small part of it. And it's all, you know, the title of the circular, Greg, is, you know, forward planning for special education provision in Ireland, which is great, and that's what we want. You know, when they talk about putting special classes onto mainstream schools and all this, which is great, surely. But this, you know, they've been at this for a good while for special schools to try and get us to redesignate. They've spoken about some of schools like St. Bernard's who have redesignated over the last few years. But from talking to them parents, they've been, or from the talking to those principals, they've been put under severe pressure by the NCSE and the Department of Education. Like, you'll get a new school if you redesignate. You'll get new classes if you redesignate. So they put awful pressure. They put pressure on St Bernardet's 2 years ago, and our Board of Management stood firm and says, no, we weren't going to redesignate. We're a school for children with a mild general learning disability. We're going to stay that way. What we do well, and we stuck to our guns, and we're flying. But unfortunately, we're under severe.
Well, what does the future of St Bernardet's look like? I think you've mentioned already that current students and their families, this might not affect them. But what does this actually mean then? If these plans are followed through as planned, what does this mean for the future of St Bernardet's? Does it have to redesignate to stay relevant, or what?
Well, possibly, Greg, and that's going to be, because our teachers and SNAs, we all signed up to be in a specific school, and that's where our expertise are, and that's where our, where we are, our experience and expertise. So maybe in 2 years' time, Greg, if a child, say like Gillian's daughter, wants to get into St Bernardet's, up until this point, the NEP psychologist or the educational psychologist has to write a line at the end of the report saying that we recommend a place in a special school, i.e. St Bernardet's. And what we're feared of now, and what is going to come down the line, is that the Department of Education, the NCSE, are going to tell the psychologists, no, don't put that line in.
No more referrals.
No more referrals. Those children will be sent to mainstream. They're going to say they're going to make provision in mainstream for them. Mainstream hasn't worked for
Next
these
thing
children.
you're struggling for numbers?
Next thing we're struggling for numbers.
Okay, I'll see what's
and we have
happening
to
here,
take complex needs children, which we don't know what it is. That's not our expertise. And it's just, it's the uncertainty that is unhelpful at the minute, Greg.
And Gillian, like so many of these situations, this isn't necessarily about Maddie. You're really speaking out to ensure, well, firstly, that other young ones and their families don't have to go through that, mainstream experience, that you can speak out. So you're advocating for Maddie, but it's more for those that are coming behind Maddie, I think, to some extent, that, you can speak with honesty and experiences to the difference St Bernardet's made to your child. So why should another child, the same as Maddie, not have that opportunity to be the best version of themselves?
Exactly. And what St Bernardet's do fantastically. Like, we went round to view a lot of schools before we decided to send Maddie to St Bernardet's. And when we went in, every child in that school was working. They weren't playing or, they were all sitting, they were all working, and they were all working together at the same thing. And John took us round and he introduced us to every student, and he knew every student by name. He knew what they liked and their skills, and every student that was there told us that they were happy. They told us they wanted to be there. And as I say, I was told Maddie would never read and write and that she wouldn't be educational, and she's doing amazing. Like, and it's testament to John and the schools.
It's brilliant and terrible at the same time.
Exactly.
That she defied that, John.
Just, Greg, special education, it can be very topical, it can be very emotive, it's very, very important. And when you have something in special education that is working so well,
we're not fighting to get
it.
It's
why
there.
Why would you want to take that away? Why would you want to change that when it's so good?
Well, people often ask, well, what can I do? It's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. But you can contact your local elected representatives, get onto the government ones, the non-government ones. You can write directly or email Taoiseach Micheál Martin, Taoiseach Simon Harris. That's what you can do. You're not being asked to go out into the streets or anything at this point. You're being asked to let your local representative know, or indeed the Taoiseach or Taoiseach, that you disagree with this. Of course, you can get onto the Department of Education, etc., etc. So there's lots you can do, even though you might feel helpless in this situation. Gillian McCrabb, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Maddie, very lucky to have an advocate in you, speaking so well on her behalf. And John Harron, seems the same on behalf of all students and staff as well, doing amazing things at St Bernardet's Special School Educating. Ironically, all you're asking for is to be able to keep doing it.
Exactly.
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seems like a simple request. All right, and we also have to be careful that once this crosses the line, it can be like behind the scenes that St Bernardet's and other special schools then sort of start being chipped away at. So we'll keep across that. I'll be back with the weather in a mo.
Ready for a summer of play? A summer-filled series of family feel-good get-togethers in the historic houses and gorgeous gardens of the National Trust. Enter a medieval masterpiece at Castle Ward. Choose your own adventure at majestic Mount Stuart. Make a beeline for Florence Court's 20th anniversary honey show. Enjoy lazy lawn games at Rowallan Garden. Take a beautiful boat trip on Blackwater River at the Argery. Or tee off at the Giant's Causeway. Ready for a summer of play? Search National Trust NI.
75 years ago, SEAT set out on a journey to create cars that move people in every sense. From the iconic Ibiza and Leon to the family-friendly Arona and Ateca SUVs, designed with style and practicality for those who expect more. Now to celebrate, you can avail of exclusive offers across the SEAT range at our 252 sales event this June. Find out more at your local SEAT retailer or visit seat.ie. SEAT. Expect more.
Your local SEAT dealer is DMG Motors, Clara Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
New store, new project. Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up, fresh colour for your walls, or a new kitchen? Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
It's the 2025 World Chip Sizzle Freestyle Contest, and Charlie's Chips are in the lead again. They're coming up to the finishing pan, and Charlie's Chips are the 2025 World Champions. Sourced locally, hand-cut and freshly cooked, served with mouth-watering burgers, fresh battered fish or delicious chicken, plus a great selection of gluten-free options. Open Tuesday to Saturday 12 to 8 and every Friday for breakfast from 9. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's on Pierce Road, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
So it's going to be the weather and out. Sorry about that, but that last item, very important. Drier and bright of intervals will increase as the day goes on. Temperature